Chapter 129. Lin Tian followed the three into the guild's backyard. During this process, he secretly observed the three of them and discovered that Qin Feng was actually a Tier 5 array manipulation master, while the other two elders were both Tier 4 array manipulation masters. No pop-up window. This made Lin Tian somewhat surprised. As expected of the Imperial City's Array Controller Guild, there were actually so many powerful array controllers. However, Lin Tian was only slightly surprised for a moment before returning to normal. Honestly speaking, although the difference between Rank 1 and Rank 5 array manipulators was huge, their levels were about the same. The true dividing line for array manipulators was Rank 6. There was a saying that only after reaching the 6th rank could one be considered to have truly stepped into the sacred hall of array controllers. "Little brother, can you show us your array controlling skills?" Qin Feng asked, although he had already received some information about Lin Tian from Fengjian City. But after all, seeing was believing. Of course, Lin Tian did not refuse. The materials of the Imperial City's Array Controller Guild were very complete. Lin Tian thought for a bit and decided to inscribe the Solitary Lock rune. He currently had a total of 3 third-rank runes: Swallow Rain rune, Gale rune, and Solitary Lock rune. The Swallow Rain rune was a healing rune that required one to use one's body. The Gale rune required the precious Moondrop rune. Only the Solitary Lock rune was relatively simple. After choosing the materials, Lin Tian crushed the materials in front of the three to create the ink. Then, his 5 fingers moved together and lines of runes quickly jumped onto the initial scroll under his will. About 15 minutes later, the Solitary Lock rune was completed. This powerful soul force and that method of inscribing runes, it is indeed the legendary 5-Dragon Divine Flash. Supreme Rank Array Controller Genius. The eyes of the three lit up. The 16-year-old Lin Tian indeed had the ability of a 3rd-rank array controller. The most important thing was that the three of them had never seen the Solitary Lock rune before. At this moment, staring at Lin Tian, the three of them revealed a shocked expression. Around the Solitary Lock rune, the three of them felt a mysterious ripple that seemed to be able to distort space. Qin Feng took a deep breath and said after a while, "Little brother, this rune is Solitary Lock rune. It can temporarily seal a small space." Lin Tian. Hearing this, the three of them were shocked. What kind of concept was it to temporarily seal off a small space? Qin Feng paused for a moment and said, "Little brother, can you sell this Solitary Lock rune and the method of carving the 5-Dragon God Flash formation to the guild? The guild will definitely give you a satisfactory price." The 5-Dragon God Flash's method of carving the formation and the Solitary Lock rune were not simple and were priceless. Lin Tian shook his head and said, "I'm sorry, senior. My master has ordered that without his permission, this disciple is not allowed to spread any formation patterns." Since he had already fabricated that he had a teacher in Fengjian City, Lin Tian decided to continue fabricating. After all, he was a matrix manipulator. It was normal for him to have a teacher. Moreover, fabricating a powerful teacher could sometimes have a deterrent effect. At least it wouldn't be a bad thing. The three of them looked at each other. Obviously, they also knew that it was impossible. They couldn't help but reveal looks of disappointment. "Excuse me for asking, but what is your master's name?" Qin Feng asked. "I'm sorry, senior. Lin Tian doesn't know my master's name. I guess I will only know his real name after I reach the Sea of Consciousness realm. This is also what my master said when he passed down the method of carving the formation. After reaching the Sea of Consciousness realm, my master will appear again and personally teach me martial arts and more advanced methods of carving the formation." Lin Tian Dao. He had already experienced this twice, so it was natural for him to deal with it smoothly. Elder Nye and Elder Jean were startled when they heard this. Even Qin Feng was slightly surprised. "Your master is really not simple," Qin Feng said in a deep voice. At this moment, Qin Feng and the other two had the same reaction and thought as Mu Qing and the others. Only after reaching the Sea of Consciousness realm would he truly teach his disciples cultivation. How strong was this person? At the very least, he should be an airborne realm expert. This kind of expert, if he wanted to destroy the Northern Flame country, it wouldn't be a big problem. Moreover, he was also a powerful matrix manipulator. Staring at Lin Tian, the three of them couldn't help but have a burning gaze. So, little brother, are you willing to be a guest of the Matrix Manipulator Guild in the Imperial City? Qin Feng stared at Lin Tian and said, Your master must be a kind of hidden expert. I heard that you want to enter the Northern Flame Imperial Academy to cultivate. That should be just a part of your experience. You want to reach the Sea of Consciousness realm as soon as possible and truly cultivate with that expert. After a pause, Qin Feng continued, To be honest, there are many conflicts in the Imperial City, and the Northern Flame Imperial Academy is full of scheming. As long as you are willing to become a guest of our guild, the guild can give you a lot of privileges and protection, so that you can walk more smoothly in the Imperial City. What do you think? The Array Manipulator Association was a gigantic and mysterious organization that didn't belong to the Empire. In fact, it might even surpass the Empire. Some of the more powerful Array Manipulators had extremely shocking rallying power. Hence, Qin Feng had enough confidence to say such words. Lin Tian's heart moved. It sounded like it was worth considering. To become a guest, what do I need to do? Lin Tian asked. There was no free lunch in the world. Lin Tian was very clear about this point. You don't need to do anything special. Little brother, you don't need to hand over your runes to the guild. You only need to engrave a few rune scrolls and hand them over to the guild every month. Of course, at the same time, the guild will give you an appropriate reward. You can even choose some ordinary materials. Qin Feng said. Lin Tian thought for a moment. Engraving a few rune scrolls wasn't a big problem. Even if he engraved a few dozen rune scrolls every month, it would be a very simple matter. After thinking for a moment, Lin Tian nodded and said, Okay. Qin Feng and the other two were delighted. Although Lin Tian was only at the third realm, he was still young. He was only 16 years old. To have such achievements at the age of 16, in 2 or 3 years, reaching the 5th realm or even the 6th realm was not impossible. Roping in such a guest was very important. Good. Here, little brother, this is your Array Manipulator's rank badge. Qin Feng took out the 3rd realm Array Manipulator's badge and handed it to Lin Tian. As he spoke, he reached into his chest and took out a dragon mark golden token. This is the pardon token of the royal family of the Northern Flame country. With it, you can pardon anyone once. The Northern Flame Imperial Academy is the highest martial palace in the Imperial City of the Northern Flame country. Entering it to cultivate this dragon mark golden token may be of some use. Qin Feng had once helped the royal family of the Northern Flame country and obtained this dragon mark golden token by chance. However, this dragon mark golden token was of no use to Qin Feng himself. It should be known that Qin Feng was a 5th realm Array Manipulator and the vice president of the Imperial City Array Manipulator Guild. His status was extremely high. The Northern Flame country had no right to convict Qin Feng. Lin Tian didn't stand on ceremony. He took it and said, Thank you, senior. You're welcome. If little brother needs anything in the future, feel free to ask. As long as it's within the guild's ability, we'll do our best to help little brother. Qin Feng said. Lin Tian nodded, thanking Qin Feng again. After chatting with the three for a while, Lin Tian stood up and bid farewell. The three of them personally escorted Lin Tian to the entrance of the guild. Little brother, come often. Qin Feng waved his hand. Definitely, Lin Tian replied. Turning around, Lin Tian's footsteps did not slow down. Soon, he disappeared from the three's sight. When Huang Xiaolong left the Imperial City Array Manipulator Guild, the sky was already dark and it was close to dusk. Soon, Lin Tian returned to the inn where he stayed. Lin Tian went to the backyard to check on the dragon scale stallion. Seeing that the stallion's complexion was not bad, he didn't pay much attention to it. He ordered the waiter to send some food to Huang Xiaolong's room and went up to the second floor. About half an hour later, the waiter delivered the food. Lin Tian ate a simple meal and decided not to cultivate. Instead, he laid on the bed, preparing to have a good rest. After all, Tomorrow was the day he had to report to the Imperial Courtyard. It was said that before entering the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard, there would be a big exam. Only by passing the big exam would he be considered a true Imperial Courtyard disciple. Thus, before that, he had to ensure that he was in peak condition. He had traveled thousands of miles to the Imperial City. If he returned in failure, it would be a huge joke. Lying on the bed, Lin Tian soon fell asleep. In the blink of an eye, the night passed. Early in the morning, Lin Tian woke up very early. After tidying up, he headed to the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. As for the dragon scale stallion, he temporarily left it at the inn. He planned to wait until he passed the Imperial Courtyard's entrance exam before coming here to bring the dragon scale stallion to the Imperial Courtyard. Lin Tian already knew the location of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. Soon, he arrived in front of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. As far as the eye could see, the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard's entrance was shockingly huge. It exuded a majestic aura, as if it was a giant beast lying on the ground. At this time, there was already a sea of people in front of the courtyard. Of course, most of these people were here to watch the bustling scene. After all, today was the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard's annual enrollment day. As for the actual number of new disciples, Lin Tian learned from the Imperial Courtyard's instructor Suzhou that there were roughly 200 people. 200 people, all of them are geniuses, Lin Tian muttered to himself. There were hundreds of cities in the Northern Flame country, and there were several hundred large and small martial houses. The number of cultivators in the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard was hard to estimate. However, the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard's recruitment criteria were extremely harsh. As long as one was a genius, they could only choose one person from each city. Thus, there were not many young cultivators who could enter the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard every year. Lin Tian took out the Imperial Courtyard's token and walked to the entrance, passing it to the instructor in charge of recording the new disciples' names. The instructor glanced at it and nodded, "Stand over there." As he spoke, he passed the token back to Lin Tian. Taking back the token, Lin Tian nodded and walked towards the instructor's designated position. At this time, there were already more than 100 youths standing there. Most of them were around 17 years old, and they were full of vigor. They seemed to be extraordinary people. Soon, the registration of the 200 new disciples was completed. At this time, a middle-aged man walked out and stood in front of the 200 youths. He said, "The assessment will begin in 15 minutes. The assessment is very simple. Everyone will enter the demonic beast ridge and survive for half a month within 3,000 feet of the demonic beast ridge. Moreover, everyone will need to kill at least one peak grade 4 demonic beast to pass the assessment." Hua! Hearing this, many people's faces changed. It had to be known that the Beast Devil Ridge was filled with demonic beasts, and it was extremely dangerous. Especially after 3,000 zhong, the danger level increased. Surviving in this environment for half a month and killing a peak 4th level demonic beast that was comparable to a 3rd level body refinement cultivator, this level of difficulty could be said to be shocking. After a brief pause, the middle-aged man glanced at the group of freshmen and said, "Remember, it's forbidden to kill and compete with each other. During the exam, the Imperial Courtyard will send 5 senior disciples to the demonic beast ridge to supervise your actions. If anyone attacks their companions, they will bear the consequences. In addition, if anyone wants to give up during the assessment, you can take the initiative to say so. Of course, once you give up, you will lose the qualification to enter the Imperial Courtyard forever." As he spoke, 5 youths walked out from behind the middle-aged man. These 5 youths were all outstanding talents, especially the blue-clothed youth in the middle. His vigor was shockingly strong. "That is Lung Feng, the future successor of the Lung family," someone exclaimed, staring at the blue-clothed youth. Many people revealed a look of awe. Chapter 130. Rex, Lung Feng? Lin Tian raised his head and looked over, only to see the blue-clothed youth's cold expression, like an unsheathed heavenly blade. "He's from the Lung family," Lin Tian thought to himself. At this moment, everyone's attention was on Lung Feng. In comparison, the four senior disciples beside Lung Feng paled in comparison. He's so handsome. If only I could marry him. There were many onlookers in front of the imperial courtyard. Some socialites and young ladies were staring at Lung Feng with sparkling eyes. Don't be silly. Not only is he the future heir of the Lung family, but he's also ranked 7th on the imperial city's billboard. You guys are not qualified to touch him. Lin Tian was slightly surprised when he heard those voices. 7th on the imperial city's billboard. He thought to himself. He had been in the imperial city for a few days. Naturally, he had heard about the billboard in the imperial city. The billboard only included the top 10 young cultivators in the imperial city. Those who were on the billboard could only be between the ages of 16 to 20. Lung Feng looked like he was only 18. To be able to rank 7th on the billboard, he must be very powerful. Thump, thump, thump. The sound of horses galloping could be heard from afar. A sedan came from the side and attracted many people's attention. When the curtain of the sedan was pulled open, many people's eyes widened. Old General Ji's granddaughter, the #1 prodigy in the imperial city, ranked 6th on the billboard. She's here too. She's so beautiful. Speaking of which, why is this prodigy here today? Maybe she's here to see the new students of the imperial courtyard. Impossible. This happens every year in the imperial courtyard. I've never seen her here before. Many people's eyes lit up as they stared at Jiyu. At the same time, many people found it strange because the #1 beauty in the imperial city did not belong to the Northern Flame imperial courtyard. She rarely went out and did not care about many things. Why would she be at the entrance of the imperial courtyard today? This caused most people to feel that it was strange. Needless to say, Jiyu's appearance instantly overshadowed Lung Feng's limelight. At this moment, almost everyone's attention was on Jiyu, including some of the imperial city's socialites. Jiyu poked her head out of the sedan chair and looked around as if she was searching for something. Soon, she spotted Lin Tian among the 200 or so new students. She smiled at Lin Tian and waved her hand. Lin Tian instantly became a little embarrassed. Gosh, the #1 genius girl in the imperial city seems to be waving at someone. Who is it? I can't believe he is such an honor. It seems to be one of the new students. Who is it? Many people stared at the 200 freshmen. Beside the middle-aged man, Lung Feng glanced at Jiyu in the distance. His gaze fell on the 200 or so new students, and then he glanced at Lin Tian. Lin Tian suddenly felt an oppressive gaze. He raised his head and saw Lung Feng looking at him indifferently. This made him frown. At this moment, the middle-aged man spoke again. Everyone, form 5 rows and head to Demonic Beast Ridge. Hearing the middle-aged man's voice, the 200 or so new students moved in unison. Soon, they formed 5 rows and headed to Demonic Beast Ridge under the lead of Lung Feng and the other senior disciples. In the crowd, Lin Tian turned his head and looked in Jiyu's direction. Seeing Lin Tian looking over, Jiyu seemed a little happy and waved at Lin Tian. Lin Tian immediately knew that Jiyu came for him. This rhythm is a little strange, Lin Tian mumbled. Even though he had saved Jiyu's life, Jiyu shouldn't have gone to this extent. How could he know that although Jiyu Anshan had never told Jiyu about bearing the array naked, at that time, Jiyu had seen everything with her own eyes. As the #1 prodigy in the imperial city, Jiyu was the center of attention. However, she was a very traditional girl. Since then, that pale face had been imprinted in her heart. Another person in the crowd noticed this scene. It was Lung Yitong. Damn it! Lung Yitong gritted his teeth and stared viciously at Lin Tian. Lin Tian cultivated the Heavenly One-Soul technique and had extremely strong senses. He instantly sensed Lung Yitong's gaze. He tilted his head and glanced at Lung Yitong indifferently. Then he turned his head away again. Lung Yitong was infuriated by Lin Tian's behavior. He felt that Lin Tian was looking down on him. Little bastard, just you wait. Lung Yitong cursed in a low voice. A cold, murderous glint flashed across his eyes. More than 200 new students walked together on the streets of the imperial city. Their steps were slow but powerful, causing a rhythmic sound to be heard. On the streets, Countless pedestrians made way for the 200 new students. They stared at the new students with sparkling eyes. That was because these 200 new students were the absolute prodigies of the Northern Flame country. Lin Tian followed the new students and crossed the streets. Soon, they were out of the Imperial City's main gate. The great entrance examination of the Northern Flame country. These guys, they look so strong. Nonsense. There are hundreds of cities in the Northern Flame country and countless people. Only these 200 new students are selected. They are all exceptional prodigies. Discussions could be heard all around. Everyone jogged forward. At this moment, the middle-aged man shouted again. They had already walked out of the Imperial City. Along the main road, the 200 new students started to jog. All of these people were young experts. When they ran together like this, it caused the ground to tremble, and their impetus could be said to be extremely shocking. After about 2 hours, a vast primeval forest appeared in front of them. Lin Tian looked ahead and saw lush old trees. There was a violent, demonic aura emanating from them. It's bigger and more dangerous than the dark forest. Lin Tian muttered to himself. Even though they were still at the edge of the demonic beast ridge, Lin Tian could already sense that this primeval forest was not simple. At this moment, everyone stopped. The middle-aged man looked at the 200 new students with bright eyes and shouted, "Get ready. We will enter the demonic beast ridge in half an hour. You must go 3,000 feet into the demonic beast ridge within a day. Those who do not reach this standard within a day will be disqualified. In the following half a month, if anyone appears beyond 3,000 feet, they will be disqualified. Within half a month, if anyone attacks their companions, they will be disqualified. Do you understand?" "Understood," the new students replied in unison. "Very good." The middle-aged man nodded with satisfaction. The 200 new students stood quietly. Almost all of them were staring at the primeval forest in front of them. Their eyes shone brightly, and they were eager to take action. Half an hour passed quickly. "Everyone, enter the forest," the middle-aged man shouted. In an instant, all the new students moved. Most of them rushed into the demonic beast ridge. These people were all geniuses and elites. Naturally, they were not afraid of the primeval forest. Lin Tian's way was among the crowd, and he quickly entered the demonic beast ridge. As soon as Lin Tian entered the demonic beast ridge, he felt an even more shocking, desolate aura. There was a strong demonic aura lingering in the air, giving people a sense of oppression. Lin Tian did not pay much attention to it. He walked deeper into the demonic beast ridge. The distance of 3,000 feet was neither short nor long. As Lin Tian walked, he could occasionally hear the roars of demonic beasts. From time to time, there would be a hurricane from the depths. Swoosh! Not long after, a LV-3 demonic beast rushed from the side, waving its black claws to grab Lin Tian. Lin Tian moved to the side to avoid the demonic beast and slapped it. With a bang, the demonic beast was sent flying. It crashed into an old tree and fell to the ground. Lin Tian had reached the second layer of the divine range. It was easy for him to kill a third sky demonic beast. A mere LV-3 demonic beast was nothing to him. Soon an hour passed. In the next hour, Lin Tian was attacked by dozens of demonic beasts. Of course, he killed all of them. At this time, he was within 3,000 feet of the demonic beast ridge. In this place, the roars of demonic beasts were even more shocking. The demonic aura lingering in the air was even more violent. Lin Tian jumped onto an old tree and looked around. There were many demonic beasts moving in front of him. They were all extraordinary. Most of them were LV-4 demonic beasts. Swoosh! A LV-4 demonic beast noticed him and rushed over. It was a thundercliff monkey. It was agile with chopstick-like claws and a pair of red demonic eyes. Lin Tian didn't expect to be attacked by a LV-4 demonic beast as soon as he stepped into this area. Moreover, it was a thundercliff monkey that was comparable to the second sky of the divine range. He couldn't help but sigh. It wasn't easy to survive in such an environment for half a month. It was really difficult to enter the Northern Flame Imperial Academy. Of course, it was just a thought. Lin Tian didn't care about a mere thundercliff monkey. Lin Tianyi turned his body slightly and kicked out. Roar! The thundercliff monkey let out a miserable cry and fell several feet away. The other four demonic beasts noticed the abnormality and looked over. Their eyes were blood red. Lin Tian had a bad premonition and immediately left in a flash. He wasn't afraid of a four demonic beast. Dozens of demonic beasts were nothing. However, if hundreds of demonic beasts pounced on him at once, he could only run even if he was stronger. Phew! After evading the four demonic beasts, Lin Tian let out a long breath. Right at this time, Lin Tian's heart suddenly stirred, feeling over a dozen chills. A cold snort sounded, and a young man walked out, followed by 11 black-robed men. Lung Yitong. Lin Tian squinted his eyes. Lung Yitong put his hands behind his back and stared coldly at Lin Tian. You're lucky to have survived the last time in Fengjian City. However, you're really stupid. How dare you come to the Imperial City and be so arrogant in front of me? Don't you know that the Imperial City is my territory? You're digging your own grave. Thinking about what happened a few months ago, Lung Yitong's eyes were filled with killing intent. Lin Tian looked at Lung Yitong. He wasn't surprised that Lung Yitong knew his identity. After all, the Lung family was one of the 3 major families in the Imperial City. It wasn't hard for them to find out his identity. His eyes landed on the 11 men behind Lung Yitong and said indifferently, "These people aren't new to the assessment. They shouldn't be here." The 11 men in black were all middle-aged men. So what? I've already said that the Imperial City is my territory. In my territory, I can do whatever I want. I have countless ways to make you unable to survive in the Imperial City. For example, you'll die now, Lung Yitong said. Chapter 131. As one of the big families in the Imperial City, the Lung family was undoubtedly powerful. Lung Feng was the supervisor of this assessment, so it was naturally easy for him to let some of the family's experts into the demonic beast ridge for the Imperial Courtyard assessment. When Lung Yitong found out about Lin Tian's true identity and his purpose in coming to the Imperial City, he started to make preparations. "You will die today," Lung Yitong said. "Die?" Lin Tian squinted his eyes. "Are you sure that the people you brought can kill me?" The 11 black-clothed men weren't weak, but Lin Tian didn't put them in his eyes. "It's enough," Lung Yitong sneered. Lung Yitong obviously didn't want to waste any more words with Lin Tian. He waved his right hand, and a dozen men rushed out. These men were obviously experts. They were extremely fast and rushed towards Lin Tian in an arc. "You can't kill me," Lin Tian said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, his body flashed, and he met one of the men with a punch. With a pung sound, the leader of the group exchanged a punch with him and was forced to retreat several steps. His face immediately revealed a look of shock. "Attack together. Don't give him any chance to fight back," Lung Yitong said coldly. Lung Yitong didn't move, but the 11 middle-aged men gathered together and attacked like 11 sharp knives. Among the 11 men, 7 of them were in the 2nd level of the Divine Pulse realm, and 4 of them were in the 3rd level. They were much stronger than ordinary cultivators of the same level, which gave Lin Tianyi some pressure. However, this little bit of pressure was nothing much. Lin Tian stomped on the ground and pounced on the man on his right, throwing out a punch. It was a simple punch, but there wasn't any tyrannical aura. The black-clothed man opposite Lin Tian was at the 2nd level of the Divine Vein realm. At this moment, he raised his fist to meet Lin Tian's attack. Unfortunately, he was one step too late. His fist missed Lin Tian, and Lin Tian's fist landed firmly on his body. Puff! The man spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. He crashed into an old tree and stopped moving. Meteorite shattering fist killing in one blow. Seeing this scene, the others were shocked. An expert at the 2nd level of the Divine Vein realm was killed so easily. Lung Yitong stared at Lin Tian with a gloomy expression, and the killing intent in his eyes grew thicker. "I said that they shouldn't have come in for 2 reasons. Lin Tian turned to look at Lung Yitong. First, they are not new students who are not qualified to come in. Second, once they came in, they can't leave. Facing so many experts, Lin Tian appeared very calm. Arrogant. Kill them. Yidong shouted. The 10 of them received the order, and each of them drew a long saber from their backs. Instantly, the saber light swept out in all directions. The of the sword, sword of the origin, sword of the divine pulse realm, clang. The first Azes S of the divine of thus of the lifeses use swords. Of the Etongs, Esidongs, Lisa, S is of Etong of the Yof, of the many of S's words made Lung Etong's expression even more sinister. Until I kill you, Lung Etong said. As Lung Etong's words fell, the remaining 9 men moved again. They all charged at Lin Tian. Suddenly, the cold sword's chi swept across the sky and chopped many old trees into pieces. Lin Tian was calm in the face of the 9 men's attacks. He held the sword of the origin sword in his hand and swept through the crowd. Wherever the sword went, it was unstoppable. Puff! After a few breaths, the 3rd man died under his sword. Come on, he said calmly. The shocking windsword art was unleashed to the limit by him, like a cold wind winding around his surroundings. Every move, every style, extremely tyrannical, yet at the same time incomparably ethereal, hard to fathom. Use the soul-chasing puppet, a man in black shouted. The soul-chasing puppet was the Lung family's most famous martial technique. Only the direct descendants of the family were qualified to practice it. The side branches could only practice the incomplete soul-chasing puppet. Even so, the incomplete soul-chasing puppet was still very powerful. Its name was known throughout the imperial city. Whoosh! 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 Suddenly, the 8 men's movements became several times faster. They surrounded Lin Tian like swimming dragons. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. The pressure suddenly increased. Lung Etong stared at Lin Tian and said, "Yesterday, you were able to break my soul-chasing puppet because I had just started practicing this martial technique. I could only control less than 10% of it. But these people are different. Although they practice the incomplete soul-chasing puppet, they have at least 30% of it. Let's see how you're going to defend yourself against this 30% soul-chasing puppet." Is that so? Then watch carefully, Lin Tian said calmly. As soon as he finished speaking, his body suddenly swayed. He dodged 3 swords chi and appeared in front of a man in black. The man in black's expression changed. He could not help but take a step back. This step was like stepping into the gates of hell. Kill! A cold word floated out. Lin Tian's figure flashed past, and a head flew out. Sort of lightning. At this moment, Lung Etong stared at Lin Tian again. His expression changed. Lin Tian's speed was too fast. He was able to avoid the 7 swords chi and kill another man at the same time. This was far beyond his expectations. How is this possible? Lung Etong's expression was a little ugly. The Lung family's soul-chasing puppet could be avoided. Soul-chasing puppet? The name is impressive. Unfortunately, it's only nice to hear, but useless. Lin Tian mocked. He had mastered the yin-yang puppet. This movement technique was said to be able to cross thousands of miles of mountains and rivers with a single step. It could be said to be the true speed of heaven and earth. How could a mere soul-chasing puppet be compared to the yin-yang puppet? Lin Tian's gaze swept across the surroundings. In this place, out of the 11 black-clothed men, only 7 remained. Kill them! Kill them! Lung Etong shouted. The remaining 7 men did not dare to hesitate. Lung Etong was the son of the family leader. He had a very high status. The 7 of them used the soul-chasing puppet while performing powerful martial techniques. Suddenly, a tyrannical true essence spread out like a tidal wave in all directions. Lin Tian was expressionless. The sword of origin shook and the sword momentum changed. A thunderous sound was heard. First sword! A cold voice was heard. He took a step forward and a thunderbolt slashed across. It went into the chest of a man in black. The 5th man was dead. Second sword. The cold voice was heard again. It was like the call of the Grim Reaper. With a puff, an arm of a man in black was chopped off. Then, an iron fist landed on his chest. Bang! The man was sent flying. Blood gushed out of his mouth, mixed with pieces of his heart. His neck tilted and he stopped moving. The sixth man was dead. Third sword. The sound of the sword reverberated. The seventh man's throat was pierced and he fell to the ground. In the blink of an eye, only 4 of the 11 men in black were left. The 4 of them were experts in the 3rd level of the divine pulse realm. However, when they stared at Lin Tian, their faces changed slightly. There was some fear in them. In the eyes of the 4 men, the 16-year-old young man in front of them was like a sword god. His sword intent was too terrifying. Trash. The 11 of you attacked together, but you couldn't even kill one of them. Lung Yitong scolded. The remaining 4 men had ugly expressions. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. But he did not dare to refute a single word. Lin Tian smiled coldly. He suddenly turned to Lung Yitong and said, "According to the rules of the Imperial Courtyard, freshmen are not allowed to fight and kill each other. However, since you attacked first, it's different." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Tian flashed like a ghost and appeared in front of Lung Yitong. "You slap." Lin Tian slapped Lung Yitong in the face. Instantly, Lung Yitong was sent flying. "Protect the young master," one of the 4 men shouted. The 4 of them rushed toward Lin Tian together. "Get lost," Lin Tianling said. He shook his right hand and used the Azure Thundersword technique. Boom! As of now, he had already grasped 40% of the Azure Thundersword art. This sword attack contained 40% of the Azure Thundersword art's essence, and it was comparable to a mid-grade divine Vein Realm martial skill. This sword attack forced the 4 of them to vomit blood and fly away. Lin Tian tilted his head and stared at Lung Yitong. He walked toward him step by step. "A few months ago, you sent someone to assassinate me in Fengjian City. This is the 2nd time. In your words, you're courting death." He raised the origin-restoring sword and slashed at Lung Yitong mercilessly. At this moment, a sword whistled and fell from the sky. Lin Tian's expression changed. He immediately retreated a few feet away. He looked up and saw a giant eagle hovering in the sky above the demonic beast ridge. Lung Feng, who was dressed in blue, was looking at Lin Tian indifferently. In the next moment, Lung Feng jumped down from the giant eagle and landed beside Lung Yitong. "Big brother," Lung Yitong shouted in surprise. He then looked at Lin Tian viciously. The 4 black-clothed men in the distance were also delighted. One of them called out, "Young master." Lin Tian looked at Lung Feng and straightened his body. "Heh, the representative of the Imperial Courtyard supervisor." Lin Tian sneered. Lung Feng was expressionless. He shook the long sword in his hand and slashed at Lin Tian. Lin Tian's expression suddenly changed. This sword strike was really too fast and also too powerful. He hurriedly executed the Azure Lightning Sword technique to meet the attack, yet he was blasted flying with a bang, and a mouthful of blood essence instantly sprayed out. Lung Yitong stood up from the ground and stared at Lin Tian coldly. "I told you that you'll die today." Then Lung Yitong looked at Lung Feng and said, "Big brother, just cripple him. I want to torture him. I want him to suffer a fate worse than death." Lung Feng's expression was indifferent. He took a step forward and walked toward Lin Tian casually. Lung Feng swung his sword casually again. Lin Tian performed the Azure Thundersword technique to its limit. Unfortunately, he still could not block the attack. He was sent flying again. The young expert ranked 7th on the Wind Cloud leaderboard is indeed powerful. Lin Tian thought to himself as he stared at Lung Feng. Lin Tian knew very well that he was no match for Lung Feng. Lung Feng was much stronger than him. "Little bastard, aren't you very powerful? Come on, try taking another blow from my big brother." Lung Yitong laughed. Lin Tian stood up straight and glanced at Lung Yitong with disdain. Then his gaze landed on Lung Feng. "If we don't fight today, you 2 brothers and your Lung family won't be able to get away with it. Don't fight today? What a joke. Do you still have it tomorrow?" Lung Yitong mocked. Lung Feng was still expressionless. He raised his hand and swung his sword at Lin Tian. Lin Tian smiled. In the next moment, his body faded and disappeared from everyone's sight. Lung Feng's powerful sword slashed through the place where Lin Tian was standing. It passed through the air and cut a huge tree in half. Lin Tian was nowhere to be seen. Where is he? Everyone's expression changed. Even Lung Feng could not help but frown. End of chapter. Chapter 132. Lin Tian knew very well that he was no match for Lung Feng. The difference in their combat strength was too great. Therefore, when Lung Feng's third attack came, he decisively took out a Gale rune scroll and hid himself to escape. Looking at where Lin Tian had been standing, the group of people revealed shocked expressions. How could a person disappear just like that? Lung Feng frowned and looked at Lung Yitong. I'm not sure either. Lung Yitong shook his head. He thought for a while and suddenly said, "Oh right, that little bastard is a formation manipulator." Is this the work of a formation manipulator? Formation manipulator? Lung Feng's expression changed. You didn't tell me that he's a formation manipulator. He's just a formation manipulator. You're overreacting, brother. Lung Yitong frowned. Lung Feng's expression darkened. I wanted to slap Lung Yitong. Just a formation manipulator? There are a few formation manipulators in our family. Have you seen any formation manipulator that young? What if he has a terrifying teacher behind him? Do you know how big of an impact that will bring to our family? Lung Yitong was shocked. He did not expect the situation to be so serious. However, after a pause, his expression turned vicious again. He gritted his teeth and said, "So what if he's a formation manipulator? He's so close to Xiaoyu. He must die. He must die." Xiaoyu, Xiaoyu, Xiaoyu. Lung Feng really wanted to slap his useless brother. Do you think you can lay your hands on that woman? Don't think you're so great just because you're the young master of the Lung family. Even the crown prince was rejected. What chance do you have? Go back and take a good look at yourself. Lung Yitong clenched his fists. His face was pale. Not far away, the four men in black did not even dare to breathe. They looked at the two of them carefully. Lung Feng's expression did not look good. He stared at Lung Yitong and said after a while, "Forget it. It's impossible to reconcile now." As he spoke, a cold glint flashed across Lung Feng's eyes. He looked at one of the four black-robed men and said in a deep voice, "Go back to your family and bring more men with you. Today's matter must be done flawlessly." "Yes, young master." The man in black accepted the order and left quickly. Lung Yitong was elated. "You're indeed big brother." Lung Feng glanced at Lung Yitong coldly. "I'll deal with you after the Imperial Courtyard assessment." At this moment, Lin Tian had already fled far away and sat down in a small cave. The cave was about 10 feet high and was about 10 square meters wide. This Lung Feng is probably at the 7th level of the Divine Veins realm. Lin Tian gritted his teeth. After forcefully receiving 2 of Lung Feng's sword strikes, he had suffered heavy injuries, and the blood and qi in his body were surging. Sitting down cross-legged, Lin Tian began to circulate the 4 extremities meridian, drawing in the surrounding spiritual energy to quickly heal his injured body. During this process, he was extremely careful. He only circulated his 4 extremities meridian slowly, not daring to make too much of a commotion. About 4 hours later, he opened his eyes again. His injuries were mostly healed. After a short pause, Lin Tian walked out of the small cave. The roars of demonic beasts could be heard from time to time. The old forest was filled with a violent, demonic aura. Lin Tian was very cautious as he walked through the ancient forest. He activated the Heavenly One Soul art to keep an eye on his surroundings. Clang! About 15 minutes later, a terrifying energy sword fell from the sky. In the blink of an eye, Lin Tiansong had flashed several zhang away. A deep sword mark had been left on the spot where he had stood just now. He looked up and saw a familiar giant eagle circling in the sky. Lung Feng was standing on the eagle's back. How convenient! Lin Tianlong cursed and turned to flee. Instantly, the sound of swords whistling could be heard. Streaks of ear-piercing sword chi fell in all directions. Lin Tian's expression was cold. He stepped on the yin-yang ho and dodged in all directions with the old forest. He seemed to be in a sorry state. After all, Lung Feng was attacking from the sky. He had an absolute advantage. Lin Tian did not stop running. He was no match for Lung Feng. Kill him! At this moment, a cold shout rang out. Dozens of figures rushed out of the old forest. Each of them exuded an extremely powerful aura. You can't escape, you little bastard, Lung Yitong sneered. Dozens of people rushed forward and surrounded Lin Tian in an instant. These people were all experts from the Lung family. They were the elites of the Lung family who had been summoned after the 11 people. I've said that the Imperial City is my territory. You're dead meat, Lung Yitong said coldly. As he spoke, Lung Yitong waved his hand. Instantly, all kinds of martial techniques swept out. Lin Tian was surrounded by dozens of people. He was in a tight spot. After all, these people were all experts. Almost all of them were at the third heaven of the divine range. You put in a lot of effort to kill me. No wonder you're one of the 3 major martial arts families in the Imperial City, Lin Tian Lung said. He swung the Sword of Origin, restoring. The Azure Thunder Sword swept out in all directions. With a puff, one of the black-clothed men was hit by his sword. He fell into a pool of blood and died on the spot. Be careful. This person is not simple, one of the black-clothed men shouted. The other black-clothed men nodded. They became more cautious when they attacked. At the same time, Lin Tian fought with these dozens of people. He kept dodging the saber lights. Soon, some of his clothes were torn. Clang! An ear-piercing sword energy rang out. It was fast, accurate, and ruthless. It fell from the sky. Lung Feng attacked again. Lin Tian was surrounded by dozens of people. Although he sensed the sword, he was blocked when he tried to dodge. The sword pierced through his arm. Blood splattered everywhere. Kill! One of the black-clothed men seized the opportunity and attacked. Lin Tian retreated in pain. He swung the Sword of Origin, restoring. With a puff, the black-clothed man screamed. His right hand, holding the sword, was sent flying. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked at Lung Feng in the sky. His eyes were cold. Lung Feng was expressionless, but his eyes were very cold. He swung his sword again. His killing intent surged. Swoosh! Lin Tian stepped on the duality puppet and quickly dodged the attack. After staring at Lung Feng for a while, Lin Tian's figure disappeared again. He faded from the dozens of people's sight. What? The dozens of black-clothed men were shocked. Lung Yitong was moved. He gritted his teeth. Damn it! Lung Feng's expression changed, and his brows furrowed tightly together. Just now, he had been using his sword will to lock onto Lin Tian to prevent Lin Tian from suddenly disappearing. But now, Lin Tian had easily disappeared from right under his nose without any warning. It seems like only a Psyche Ocean Realm powerhouse can see through that trick. Lung Feng muttered to himself. Big brother, what should we do? Lung Yitong looked up. Lung Feng said, there's a limit to how long he can hide. Otherwise, he wouldn't have appeared again. Spread out with him and do a carpet search. I'll ride the ardent hawk in the sky. I'll alert you when I find him. As he spoke, Lung Feng rode the demon hawk higher in the sky. Spread out. We must find that little bastard. Lung Yitong shouted. Yes, young master. The dozens of black-clothed men quickly spread out. However, they kept a short distance from each other so that they could provide support at any time. Lin Tian had already escaped a few hundred feet away and hid in a pile of rocks. Holding his arm that was pierced by Lung Feng, Lin Tian took out some medicine from his stone ring to stop the bleeding. He only felt better after applying it on the wound. Lung Feng, looking at the sky through the cracks of the rocks, Lin Tian's face was extremely cold. He wasn't afraid of Lung Yitong or the dozens of black-clothed men. The key was Lung Feng. This person was too strong. He wasn't someone he could fight against now. This is bad, Lin Tian muttered to himself. He had used up the remaining 2 Gale runes. He couldn't hide anymore. The Northern Flame Imperial Academy's assessment required the freshman to survive for more than half a month. It was difficult for him to avoid Lung Feng and Lung Yitong during this period. After all, he needed to find food and water. He couldn't hide in one place all the time. During this process, Lung Feng would be able to find him easily with his bird-type demonic beast hovering in the sky. 4 or 5 days, Lin Tian stayed in the pile of rocks. On the 5th day, he couldn't take it anymore. After all, he was only in the divine pulse realm. He was still immortal. He needed to eat and drink. Otherwise, he would die. After looking around carefully, Lin Tian dashed out like a shadow. Near the pile of rocks, Lin Tian found some wild fruits and finally quenched his thirst. I'll go back and squat, Lin Tian thought to himself. At this moment, a cold sword light flashed in the sky and approached him quickly. Lin Tian dodged quickly. After dodging the sword light, he swept his sword coldly in the air. Clang! What greeted him was Lung Feng's second strike. At the same time, many black figures dashed toward him from all directions. Their weapons were glowing with killing light. Lin Tian cursed inwardly and ran away. Go after him. Whoever can get that bastard's head will be rewarded with 100,000 spirit coins. Lung Yitong shouted. Instantly, the dozens of black-clothed men sped up. Their attacks became more frenzied. Clang! 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 Lin Tian held the Sword of Origin and fought with the dozens of black-clothed men. He retreated as he fought. High up in the sky, Lung Feng had been staring at Lin Tian the whole time. After continuously slashing his sword dozens of times, he did not see Lin Tian disappear again. Finally, he jumped down and landed in the old forest from the back of the giant eagle. He held his sword and charged at Lin Tian. Like a flash of light, Lung Feng closed in on Lin Tian in an instant. Lin Tian was shocked by Lung Feng's speed. He quickly stepped on the yin and yang rock to dodge. At the same time, he raised the Sword of Origin to block. Clang! With a crisp sound, the Sword of Origin was cut in half by Lung Feng. Lin Tian was blown away by the remaining force. Staring at the long sword in Lung Feng's hand, Lin Tian's pupil shrank. Low-grade, bejeweled weapon. Is this the Lung family's soul-chasing puppet? What do you think? Lung Yitong walked over. Lung Feng did not say a word. He did not give Lin Tian any time to react. He held the low-grade bejeweled weapon and slashed it down. Lin Tian's face darkened. He raised the Sword of Origin and threw it at Lung Feng. Lung Feng swung his sword to deflect the broken sword of returning origin, but he saw that Lin Tian had already fled. Go after him, Lung Feng shouted. He was the first to chase after Lin Tian. Lung Feng had almost reached the phenomenal realm of the Lung family's soul-chasing puppet. With his powerful cultivation, he was naturally very fast. Lin Tian looked back and could not help but feel a chill in his heart. Lung Feng's speed was not any slower than his. Damn it! Cursing in his heart, Lin Tian quickened his pace again. Gradually, the surroundings became quiet. The roars of the demonic beasts were obviously much weaker. Suddenly, there was a wisp of purple-black fog in the air. It came from the dense forest in front of them. Lin Tian was shocked. He stopped in his tracks. Behind him, Lung Feng also stopped. He stared ahead and said in a low voice, "Rotten poison forest." Chapter 133. Remember literature building in 1 second. We provide you with interesting novels to read. The purplish-black mist lingered in the air. Lin Tian stared ahead. The old trees became thinner, and the space became darker. He felt a sense of danger. He turned around and looked at Lung Feng. Lung Feng's eyes flickered. Apparently, he was afraid of this place. This made Lin Tian even more vigilant. Surrender, Lung Feng said. Is that possible? Lin Tianling said coldly. I'm still waiting to deal with you two brothers. Lung Feng's eyes flashed coldly. Without another word, he swung his sword at Lin Tian. A long sword appeared in Lin Tian's hand. It was the Broken Wound Sword, an upper-grade spiritual weapon that he had taken from Su Muyang. Holding the broken wound sword, he performed the Azure Thunder Sword technique to the extreme. He swung his sword, bringing along a blinding thunderbolt. Boom! The two collided, and the violent airflow swept out in all directions. Lin Tian took a few steps back. He felt the blood in his body churning. Lung Feng did not move, but his eyes flickered a few times. Being at the second level of the Holy Range, Lung Feng had such combat strength. He killed more than 10 experts of the Lung family and resisted him until now. He was indeed extraordinary. This made the murderous intent in Lung Feng's heart thicken. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air was heard. The other members of the Lung family all rushed over. Lung Yitong looked ahead. His expression froze for a moment. Then he stared at Lin Tianling and laughed. Run! Why aren't you running? Apparently, Lung Yitong knew Elder Lin very well. Lin Tian held the broken wound sword and stood straight. He scanned the crowd coldly. At this moment, the road ahead was completely blocked. Lung Feng stood in the middle. He could not break out no matter what. There was only one way behind. Looking behind him, there was a purple mist lingering. It seemed like there was an evil spirit in it. Lung Yitong, Lung Feng, pray that I die. Otherwise, your Lung family will never have a day of peace. Lin Tianling sneered. He sheathed his sword and coldly glanced at Lung Yitong and Lung Feng. Then he stomped his feet on the ground and retreated. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the poisonous forest. Lung Feng was stunned for a moment. He frowned but heaved a sigh of relief. Once they entered the corrosive poison forest, even experts at the 9th level of the Divine Vein realm wouldn't be able to come out alive. They would be poisoned to death by the miasma. As such, today's matter could be considered to have come to an end. Reckless fool, how dare you step into a place like this? Lung Yitong snorted. Lung Feng ordered the dozens of black-robed men to return to the clan. He glanced at Lung Yitong before he turned around and left. Lung Yitong looked into the corrosive poison forest and sneered. This is the result of fighting with me. With that, Lung Yitong turned around and left arrogantly. Inside the poisonous forest, the purplish-black mist was even thicker, like a dense forest. Inside the forest, Lin Tian had only walked a few dozen feet when his body suddenly trembled violently. A heart-wrenching pain came from within his body. At the same time, his vision slowly became blurry. His limbs were numb, and waves of dizziness quickly assaulted his mind. Is this poisoned? Lin Tian's heart sank to the bottom. He had only entered the corrosive poison forest for a short while, but he had already experienced such a reaction. Lin Tian stopped and sat down cross-legged, circulating his 4 extremities meridian to resist. Faint silvery glossy intertwined within his body. As the spiritual energy surged, it brought along even more purplish-black mist. It surged into his body, causing him to tremble violently. He opened his mouth and coughed out a mouthful of blood. There were actually black strands in the blood. Lin Tian's pupils shrank. He was poisoned. Cursing under his breath, Lin Tian quickly tried to think of a way to neutralize this poison. At this moment, he only felt as if there were numerous flying knives rampaging through his body. The purplish-black mist that entered his body was constantly corroding his internal organs. The heart-wrenching pain continued to surge. Gradually, Lin Tianji felt his consciousness blurring. Buzz! At this moment, a ray of light lit up in the dusky, corrosive poison forest. Lin Tian's mind shook. Looking down, he saw the sword pattern in the center of his right hand suddenly light up. Streaks of light spread from his arm to his entire body. Wherever these streaks passed, he could clearly feel the purplish-black mist in his body disappearing bit by bit. It was being refined by a mysterious force. After about half an hour, the sword pattern dimmed and the streaks of light also disappeared. Lin Tian blinked. He felt his entire body suddenly become refreshed. The dizziness and weakness from before had all disappeared. His body became incomparably light. Standing up, Lin Tian tried to take a deep breath. He discovered that the purplish-black mist around him had no effect on him. Good stuff. Looking at the sword pattern in the center of his right hand, Lin Tian's eyes lit up. This thing could actually neutralize poison. At this moment, a gust of wind blew from the front. The purplish-black mist flowed like water. Although Lin Tian had developed an immunity to this kind of poison, he still choked and couldn't help but cough. After a few breaths, Lin Tian stopped coughing. He raised his head and looked into the depths of the forest. He frowned slightly. This thing floated from the depths. Could there be something there? Lin Tian whispered. Standing in place, Lin Tian hesitated for a moment. In the end, he gritted his teeth and braced himself to walk into the depths of the forest. The ground of the corrosive poison forest was obviously much more humid than outside. Lin Tian discovered that not only were there few trees here, but they were also almost all withered. Large yellow leaves fell to the ground, making a chi-chi-chi sound when stepped on. Following the direction of the purple mist, Lin Tian carefully walked forward. Along the way, he discovered many corpses of demonic beasts on the ground. Almost all of them were level 3 and level 2 demonic beasts. Some had just died, while others had died a long time ago. They must have been poisoned to death after accidentally entering the forest. Gradually, the purple mist became thicker and thicker. It was also at this moment that a huge pool appeared in front of him. That is, Lin Tian's pupils shook. Looking around, the pool was about 100 feet wide. A huge demonic beast corpse was lying in the pool. The demonic beast's blood almost dyed the pool red. Lin Tian couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Level 7 demonic beast, poison fire lizard. Level 7 demonic beast. This was a terrifying existence comparable to the Sea of Knowledge realm. It actually died here. Moreover, Lin Tian finally understood why this forest had such a terrifying poisonous mist. It was because the poison fire lizard was originally highly toxic. After it died, the poison in its body decomposed and formed a mist that floated in this ancient forest. Staring at the poison fire lizard's corpse, Lin Tian's eyes suddenly brightened. With a slight leap, Lin Tian landed on the poison fire lizard's head. The poisonous mist around the poison fire lizard was thicker, but he was no longer afraid of this kind of poisonous mist. He took out a dagger from the stone ring and cut open the poison fire lizard's head. Enduring the rotten smell and the nausea, he put his right hand into the poison fire lizard's head. After feeling around for a while, he suddenly showed a touch of joy. It's still here. Muttering to himself, Lin Tian took back his right hand. There was a fist-sized demonic beast core in his hand. Staring at this demonic beast core, Lin Tian's face was full of surprise. The demonic beast core of the poison fire lizard, a level 7 demonic beast core, was absolutely a good thing. Misfortune and fortune are interdependent. The ancients didn't lie to me. Lin Tian wanted to laugh out loud. A level 7 demonic beast core. After refining this demonic beast core, he could at least enter the third sky of the god range. Lung Feng, Lung Yitong, wait for me. With a sneer, Lin Tian jumped down from the poison fire lizard's head. He came to a dead tree nearby and began to refine the demonic beast core. With a move of his mind, the sword pattern lit up, and a vast amount of spiritual energy suddenly gushed out from the demonic beast core. Lin Tianji felt that his body was instantly submerged in a fountain of spiritual energy. The comfortable feeling made him moan in a low voice. Then he quickly calmed himself down and operated the 4 extreme meridians to guide the vast spiritual energy in his body to help him build the third god range, connecting his meridians and Dao acupoints. The process went smoothly, and the pain was even much weaker than before. It's indeed a level 7 demonic beast core, Lin Tian thought to himself. A vast amount of spiritual energy could not only make cultivation smoother, but also reduce the pain of cultivation. A level 7 demonic beast core undoubtedly had such an advantage. The spiritual energy it contained was extremely vast. Buzz! It could be seen that outside Lin Tian's body, there were silver light curtains circling around him. His aura was also constantly growing stronger. Lin Tian calmed his heart and calmed his mind, quietly cultivating. In this way, 3 hours passed quickly. 3 hours later, along with a boom, a fierce wind suddenly appeared around Lin Tian. This terrifying aura swept out, blowing away all the dead leaves around him. Third level of the God range. Lin Tian opened his eyes, and two beams of light flashed. Taking a deep breath, he closed his eyes again and continued to cultivate. The spiritual energy inside the level 7 demonic beast core was really amazing. After relying on this spiritual energy to reach the third sky of the God range, there was still a steady flow of spiritual energy coming into his body. Regarding this, Lin Tian naturally would not waste it. He continued to operate the 4 extreme meridians and started to build the 4th God range. He chose the part from the head to the right leg for the 4th God range. Time flew, and soon another 2 hours had passed. 2 hours later, the demonic beast core in Lin Tian's right hand cracked open, and the light outside his body dimmed. Opening his eyes again, Lin Tian took a deep breath and slowly stood up. Clenching his fists, Lin Tianji felt that his strength had become stronger, at least several times stronger than before. Third level of the God range, and half of the 4th God range is already built. The corner of Lin Tianji's mouth curled up slightly. He did not expect such a good thing to happen after entering the poisonous forest. He looked up at the sky. Because of the miasma in the forest, the distance he could see was very limited. It was difficult to see the sky. Lin Tian thought for a while. This place could be considered as a natural barrier. He did not need to worry about being attacked by demonic beasts, nor did he need to worry about being detected by Lung Feng, who was riding a giant eagle. Let's stay here until the end of the assessment, Lin Tian said to himself. After a pause, he took out the broken wound sword and prepared to cultivate the Azure Thunder Sword art. He now had 60% of the Azure Thunder Sword art. He could control 40%, and there was still 20% left. Now was the time to cultivate this set of martial arts. With a clang, the sword whistled, and the thunderous airflow swept out in all directions. Chapter 134. In the dim old forest, from time to time, there would be flashes of lightning flashing, making crackling noises nonstop. Lin Tian held the broken wound sword with one hand and remained motionless. He closed his eyes and circulated the Azure Thunder Sword art's specific true Yuan circulation route. Chi! 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 Electric sparks flickered around his body as if lightning was intertwining, making him look like a thunder god. With a whoosh, Lin Tian moved. With a swing of his sword, it swept across the heavens and earth like rolling thunder. With a clang, an old tree in the distance exploded. The broken part was charred black, as if it was struck by lightning. Lin Tian opened his eyes and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Although it was only a swing of his sword, he revealed a smile as he looked in front of him. He was very satisfied. Continue. With a low roar, Lin Tian displayed his sword aura and moved like a clap of thunder. Lightning intertwined around his body. Every swing of his sword would cause the dim space to brighten slightly. It was like a comet streaking across the sky. The momentum was vast and magnificent. Slash! Holding the sword hilt with both hands, he swung his sword down, and the entire old forest seemed to shake. In this corrosive poison forest, Lin Tian did not have the slightest scruple as he wantonly cultivated. When he was full of energy, he would constantly use the Azure Thunder Sword art. When he was hungry, there were plenty of demonic beast corpses in the old forest. It was not difficult to get some roasted meat. When he was tired, he did not even need to worry about being attacked by demonic beasts. Just like that, half a month passed in the blink of an eye. It was early in the morning. At the edge of the demonic beast ridge, the freshmen walked out one after another. The middle-aged man in charge of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard's assessment had his hands behind his back. Behind him stood Lung Feng and the other 4 senior disciples. Not bad. The middle-aged man smiled. This middle-aged man was called Han He, an elder of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. At this moment, there were many people gathered at the edge of the demonic beast ridge. Other than Han He, Lung Feng, and the other 4 senior disciples, the others were here to watch the show. At this moment, On the other side of the edge, a sedan stopped there. Jiyu stared at the edge of the demonic beast ridge without blinking. His gaze was calm, as if he was waiting for something. Lung Feng, your brother is out. Someone beside Lung Feng said. Lung Feng was expressionless. He looked ahead and nodded at Lung Yitong, who was walking out. Lung Yitong smiled. Suddenly, she saw the sedan chair at the edge and immediately went up to it. Xiaoyu, what are you doing here? Lung Yitong said gently. Waiting for someone. Jiyu said. Who is it? Lung Yitong's heart turned cold, but she smiled and said, Are you waiting for me? I'm honored. Jiyu didn't say anything else. He leaned against the sedan chair and stared at the edge of Demon Beast Ridge without blinking. Someone noticed the commotion and looked over. So beautiful. Is that number one prodigy waiting for the young master of the Lung family? I'm so happy. If only I was born in a big family. I beg the heavens to let me exchange places with young Master Lung. I'm willing to give up 20 years of my life. Scram. Many people stared in the direction of the sedan. Gradually, no one stepped out from the demonic beast ridge. Out of the 239 new students, a total of 221 people walked out alive. Not bad. It's much better than the previous years. Hani said. Jiyu kept looking at the edge of the demonic beast ridge. However, even after 2 hours, Lin Tian still didn't appear. Where is he? Jiyu asked Lung Yitong. Who? Lung Yitong pretended to be confused. Lin Tian. You know him? Lung Yitong was a little unhappy, but she didn't show it on her face. She said casually, a bumpkin from the countryside. I guess he died in the mouth of a demonic beast. He's stronger than you. You came out alive. He can't be dead, Jiyu said calmly. A cold light flashed in Lung Yitong's eyes. She clenched her fist tightly, but loosened it in the end. Who knows? Maybe he encountered some terrifying demonic beasts. Lung Yitong turned and left. On the other side, Han was calling the 221 new students back to the Imperial Courtyard. As a new student, Lung Yitong naturally had to listen to his orders. Congratulations on officially becoming a member of my Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. Next, there will be a new disciple ranking battle that will last for 8 days. I wish you all good luck in getting a good ranking, because it will affect your cultivation resources. Hani looked at the group of new students that walked out alive. Most of the new students clenched their fists. Just like when they first entered the demonic beast ridge, all of them were eager to try. Now run back to the Imperial Courtyard. Hani shouted. Yes. The group of new students replied in unison. In an instant, the sound of footsteps could be heard, and a thick cloud of dust was swept up. These young people are the true pillars of the Empire's future. 221 people, all of them are peerless geniuses. I'm really envious of them. Who said they aren't? Staring at the 200 new students, many people's eyes flickered. Gradually, the crowd started to disperse. Soon, the surroundings became much quieter. At this moment, only Jiyu was still staring at the edge of the demonic beast ridge. Young lady, are we going back? The coachman asked. The coachman was a powerful old man named Luwen. His cultivation was at the 7th level of the Divine Range Realm, and he was an old servant of the general's residence. No, Uncle Lu, you can go back first. Jiyu shook her head. In the demonic beast ridge, Lin Tian was still in the poison forest, wantonly brandishing the azure thunder sword art. Clang! The sword roared like thunder, and the ground of the poison forest was scorched. Wholeheartedly immersed in his cultivation, Lin Tian had already forgotten the passage of time. In half a month, he had mastered 55% of the azure thunder sword art. Its power was much stronger than before. Every slash of his sword could bring about a wild, lightning radiance, as though he was the ruler of lightning. Just a little bit more, and I can fully master 60% of the azure thunder sword art. Lin Tian muttered to himself. His right hand shook, and the sound of thunder resounded in all directions. It was even more ear-piercing. In the blink of an eye, another 7 days had passed. Early in the morning, Lin Tian finally stopped his cultivation. He had fully mastered 60% of the azure thunder sword art. Moreover, these days he had been cultivating his body from time to time. He was only one step away from the completion of the fourth holy vein. Putting away the broken wound sword, Lin Tian looked out of the forest. "It's time to go." Muttering to himself, Lin Tian stepped out. Walking out of the poison forest, Lin Tian walked along the familiar path. He realized that the forest was filled with the roars of demonic beasts. After walking for a long time, he still couldn't see anyone. Roar! A demonic beast at the peak of the fourth level pounced at Lin Tian. It was 10 meters tall, and it opened its huge mouth to bite him. Lin Tian tilted his head and punched out. The demonic beast at the peak of the fourth level let out a miserable cry and was immediately sent flying. Just in time, the assessment requires me to kill a demonic beast at the peak of the fourth level and obtain its beast core as proof. Lin Tian flashed over. After a dozen breaths, the demonic beast was killed. Lin Tian took its beast core and walked toward the edge of the demonic beast's ridge. Not long after, Lin Tian walked out of the demonic beast's ridge. What he saw was an empty space. "I missed the time to come out," Lin Tian muttered to himself. Lin Tian wasn't stupid. He didn't think that he had come out early. After thinking for a while, Lin Tian didn't care. The Imperial Courtyard only said that one could survive for more than half a month in the demonic beast's ridge, but it didn't say that one would be disqualified if they came out late. Thinking of this, Lin Tian walked toward the Imperial City. "Lin Tian," a familiar voice rang out. Lin Tianyi was stunned. He tilted his head and saw a girl sitting on a blue stone not far away. It was Jiyu. "You." Looking at Jiyu, Lin Tian was a little surprised. However, in the next moment he thought of something and felt a little touched. "How long have you been waiting?" he asked. "Not long. Only 7 days." Jiyu walked over. Lin Tian smiled bitterly. 7 days? Was that not long? If others knew that the #1 prodigy in the Imperial City had been waiting for him for 7 days, they would probably swarm over to kill him. After a pause, Lin Tian reacted. "So, the assessment has been over for 7 days?" Jiyu nodded and asked again, "Why did you come out so late?" 7 days ago, Hani called all the Imperial Courtyard freshmen to return to the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. Jiyu still believed that Lin Tian was still alive and had been waiting here. When he saw Lin Tian come out, he was a little happy. Of course, he was also a little confused. "I encountered some small matters, so I was cultivating in an old forest. In the end, I forgot the time," Lin Tian said awkwardly. Jiyu was stunned and couldn't help but roll his eyes. "How can you be like this? You actually forgot the time while cultivating." Seeing Jiyu's actions, Lin Tian was a little stunned. He was also a young man. It was impossible for him not to be moved by such a beautiful girl. "What are you looking at?" Jiyu blinked. "Nothing." Lin Tian hurriedly shifted his gaze. Jiyu snickered. "Idiot." Lin Tian had already walked out of the Beast Demon Ridge. The two of them walked towards the Imperial City together. About 4 hours later, the two of them returned to the Imperial City. When they passed by the General's mansion, Jiyu stopped. "I won't send you to the Imperial Courtyard. Be careful." Jiyu smiled. As the granddaughter of the Imperial General, Jiyu's talent was amazing. Many elders of the Imperial Courtyard had come to invite Jiyu to cultivate in the Imperial Courtyard. Unfortunately, they were all rejected. The reason was that she didn't like noise. Even so, Jiyu's cultivation was not weak at all. In addition, as the #1 beauty in the Imperial City, she was ranked 6th on the billboard. "Well, thank you." Lin Tian nodded. Jiyu waved at Lin Tian before walking into the mansion. The two experts guarding the general's mansion glanced at their young miss, and then at Lin Tian. Both of them had an ambiguous expression. Ahem. Lin Tian was a little embarrassed. He coughed twice and walked towards the Imperial Courtyard. The general's mansion was still some distance away from the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. After about an hour, Lin Tian appeared outside the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. At this moment, the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard was very lively. This was because the new students of the Imperial Courtyard were having a ranking battle. Since it was a ranking battle, it naturally attracted many disciples and mentors of the imperial courtyard. Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard, Lung Feng, Lung Yitong, Lin Tian, Embark. Lin Tian, Lung sneered. Lin Tian took out the imperial courtyard's nameplate and handed it to the experts guarding the imperial courtyard. His expression was calm as he walked into the imperial courtyard. Only his eyes were exceptionally cold, as if cold blades were being nurtured in them. Chapter 135. Stepping into the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard, Lin Tian realized that the interior of the courtyard was even bigger. There were many pavilions and pavilions. It was much bigger than the Nine-Yang Martial Palace in Feng Administrative City. After entering the Imperial Courtyard, Lin Tian paused for a moment before following the crowd. Soon, he arrived at the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard's martial arts field. Looking around, the martial arts field was huge, and there were many people gathered there. Du Hongxing, 8-star talent. Peak of the 3rd level of the Divine Pulse Realm. No wonder he's the top new disciple of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. It won't be long before he enters the Imperial City's ranking board. Someone said, "This Du Hongxing is terrifying. He's only 17 years old, and he has such strength. Most importantly, he's an 8-star talent. His potential for growth is huge. That Xiao Wu isn't simple either. He's the young master of the Xia clan in Linchuan City. 7-star talent. It's said that he broke through to the 3rd level of the Divine Pulse Realm not long ago. This time, he's the 2nd strongest new disciple." That's right. Speaking of which, this batch of new disciples is really strong. On the martial arts field, many people were talking about it. Lin Tian stood in the crowd and looked ahead indifferently. On the martial arts field, there were 2 figures fighting. Dazzling lights were displayed one after another. Very soon, someone was defeated and fell down from the arena. Suddenly, Lin Tian's eyes moved. A new disciple had stepped onto the martial arts field. It was Lung Yitong. Boom! The tyrannical true core force surged in waves. Lung Yitong was using a long sword. Whether it was his movement speed or his attacking speed, both were very shocking. The spectators below the martial arts arena could not help but exclaim in amazement. The young master of the Lung family, Lung Yitong, is actually so strong. The Lung family is one of the top 3 martial clans in the Imperial City. It's natural for their young master to be strong. Amazing, many people said. There was a pavilion not far from the martial arts field. There were a few figures standing there. 2 of them were Han He and Lung Feng. There was also an old man named Lu Lan, who was also an elder of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. Lung Feng, your younger brother's recent growth rate is a bit shocking. He has already mastered your Lung family's soul-chasing puppet and penetrating rainbow sword technique to minor accomplishment. Han He said. Lung Feng said, "For the past 7 days, I've had him train nonstop. It's the same for the past 10 days in Demon Beast Ridge. He's made some progress and didn't disappoint me. Looks like your little brother should be able to rank 3rd amongst the freshmen." Lu Lan smiled. "I hope so." Lung Feng nodded. Lung Yitong's current opponent was also an expert at the 2nd level of the Divine Vein Realm. However, compared to Lung Yitong, his martial skills and movement skills were much weaker. Soon, he was defeated by Lung Yitong's sword and was sent flying off the stage with a kick. Who's next? Lung Yitong held his sword and glanced at the other freshmen. The freshman ranking battle of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard was a free-for-all battle. Lung Yitong had been locked up by Lung Feng and the family for several days, which greatly increased his battle strength. At this moment, he stood on the stage and pointed his sword at all the freshmen except for Du Hongxing and Xiao Wu. Lung Feng had told him that he wasn't Du Hongxing and Xiao Wu's opponent yet. How arrogant. So what? He has the capital to be arrogant. The Lung family's martial skills are very powerful. Many people were discussing. There were some hot-blooded freshmen who couldn't stand Lung Yitong's provocation. Several of them went up the stage, but it was a pity that they were all defeated. The Lung family's soul-chasing puppet and penetrating rainbow sword technique are truly unrivaled in the same realm. Too powerful. Many people were shocked. Who else dares to come up? Lung Yitong stood on the stage with an arrogant expression and pointed his sword at everyone. Many freshmen stared at Lung Yitong. Although they were unhappy with Lung Yitong's arrogance, they couldn't help but admit that Lung Yitong was very powerful. The soul-chasing puppet and penetrating rainbow sword technique were almost perfect. "Let me try." Right at this moment, an indifferent voice sounded. Lin Tianyi walked out from the crowd and stepped onto the stage in the blink of an eye. "It's you." Lung Yitong's expression changed. In the pavilion far away, Lung Feng was also shocked. This person clearly entered the corrosive poison forest. How could he still be alive? At the side, Han He and Lu Lan frowned. "Who are you? How dare you interfere with the freshman ranking battle?" Han He said in a deep voice. There were a few hundred freshmen this time. Before entering the Beast Devil Ridge, Han He naturally didn't know everyone. Lin Tian suddenly walked out from the crowd. Han He wasn't too sure about Lin Tian's identity, but of course, Lu Lan was the same. An Imperial Courtyard freshman has completed the first round of assessment and returned. Lin Tian Dao. As he spoke, he took out his Imperial Courtyard nameplate. Seeing the nameplate, Han He and Lu Lan were stunned for a moment before they frowned. "Why did you only appear now? You weren't among the freshmen who came out of the Beast Devil Ridge." Lu Lan asked. "I encountered some trouble in the Beast Devil Ridge, so I was able to come out today," Lin Tian replied. Hearing this, Lu Lan and Han He nodded. In fact, Lin Tian had the Imperial Courtyard nameplate, which was enough to prove his identity. The two of them were just a little doubtful, so they asked. Among the freshmen, Xiao Wu's face was gloomy as killing intent flashed in his eyes. He didn't expect to see Lin Tian here. "Little bastard." Xiao Wu clenched his fists. He still remembered the day when he was kicked out of the restaurant by Lin Tian. All the spectators were in an uproar. They didn't expect someone to dare to challenge Lung Yitong after witnessing his prowess. "How can you still be alive?" On the stage, Lung Yitong took a step back with an ugly expression. "Make a guess," Lin Tian said coldly. After finishing his words, Lin Tian glanced at Lung Feng in the pavilion in the distance. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and he closed in on Lung Yitong like the wind. Lung Yitong gritted his teeth. "My soul-chasing puppet and penetrating rainbow sword art have both reached the small completion. I'm not afraid of you now." Saying this, Lung Yitong raised his hand and slashed at Lin Tian with his sword. Swoosh! A black shadow flashed by. Lin Tian closed in on Lung Yitong the moment he raised his hand. He grabbed Lung Yitong's right wrist that was holding the sword and twisted it fiercely. With a crack, the sound of bones breaking could be heard. "You!" Lung Yitong's face twisted in pain, and the sword in his hand flew out. At the same time, Lung Yitong felt that Lin Tian's cultivation was at the third sky of the divine range. At this moment, Lin Tian let go of Lung Yitong's wrist and grabbed his neck instead. He pressed Lung Yitong onto the stage. With a bang, the stage shook violently. Lung Yitong screamed and spat out a mouthful of blood. Suddenly, all the spectators stared at him. So strong? So ruthless? Lung Yitong's strength was obvious to all. But now, he was easily defeated by this young man who appeared out of nowhere. Lung Yitong let out a shrill scream, which shocked many people. At the same time, many people were surprised. It was just the ranking battle of the freshmen. Wasn't this young man a little too ruthless? "Let go of him!" A cold voice was heard. Lung Feng rushed out from the pavilion in the distance and arrived at the edge of the stage in an instant. In the pavilion, Elder Han, he and Lu Lan also came to their senses and walked over together. "Why are you so ruthless? That's too much!" The two of them scolded. Lin Tian let go of Lung Yitong's neck and stood up. However, just when everyone thought that Lin Tian was stunned by the scolding of Han He and the others, Lin Tian suddenly lifted his right leg and stomped on Lung Yitong's chest when Lung Yitong was struggling to stand up. "Ah!" The sound of bones breaking was heard, and Lung Yitong screamed again. F***CK, this brother is too fierce. But it's just the ranking battle. Why is he doing this? Could it be that he has a deep grudge against him? Many people were surprised. How dare you? Bastard! Han He and Lu Lan's faces darkened. Lin Tian's ruthless attack on their fellow disciple had infuriated them. Elders, please don't be in a hurry to get angry, Lin Tian said calmly. He then looked at Lung Feng and said, Elders, why don't you ask the first young master of the Lung family next to you why he only walked out of Demonic Beast Ridge today and why he attacked Ling Yidong? Many people were puzzled and looked at Lung Feng instinctively. Could there be more to this than met the eye? Lung Feng, what does he mean? Han He frowned. Lung Feng's face darkened. Cold light flashed in his eyes as he stared at Lin Tian. Why? Are you embarrassed to say it? Don't worry, I'll help you. Lin Tian stepped on Lung Yitong and said calmly, originally, only the freshmen and 5 senior disciples were allowed to enter Demonic Beast Ridge during the Imperial Courtyard examination. However, the first young master of the Lung family is very powerful. He secretly let dozens of family experts enter Demonic Beast Ridge. As the supervisor, he personally killed me with the help of dozens of family experts and Lung Yitong. The reason is that I have a personal grudge with Lung Yitong. What? Everyone's face changed when they heard this. When they looked at Lung Feng again, many people had strange expressions on their faces. Some people even pointed at Lung Feng. Lung Feng, he's telling the truth. Han He frowned. Lung Feng did not say a word. His face darkened. Let him go. Lung Feng stared at Lin Tian and said in a deep voice, Is that possible? I almost died when you forced me into the rotten poison forest. Lin Tian smiled and said, However, thanks to you I didn't die. I even obtained some good things that increase my cultivation. Don't you think that the heavens have eyes, allowing me to live and giving me opportunities so that I can return the favor to you and your brother? Many of the senior disciples' jaws dropped at Lin Tian's words. They were shocked that Lung Feng, as the supervisor of the Imperial Courtyard examination, actually colluded with his younger brother Lung Yitong and a group of family experts to force a freshman into the rotten poison forest. They were even more shocked that Lin Tian was able to walk out alive after being forced into the rotten poison forest. Rotten poison forest? Damn. Not only did he not die in there, but his cultivation also increased? Where did this guy come from? Isn't he too amazing? I heard that even a 9th-level divine, Vein Realm expert would die in there. Many senior disciples were shocked. Even Han He and Lu Lan were astonished. Chapter 136. Remember the literature building in 1 second. We provide you with interesting novels to read. The senior disciples, mentors, and elders of the Northern Flame Imperial Academy were well aware of how dangerous the corrosive poison forest was. Even Sea of Consciousness realm martial artists did not dare to step into the forest. However, they did not expect the person in front of them to be able to walk out of the forest alive. This was too shocking. Lin Tianling stared coldly at Lung Feng. His gaze was indifferent. Let him go, Lung Feng said coldly. Aren't you going to refute? Lin Tian mocked. Hearing this, everyone turned to look at Lung Feng. Unfortunately, Lung Feng did not say a word. Let him go. It was still the same 3 words. Then, Lung Feng started to move towards Lin Tian. Don't move, Lin Tianling said indifferently. With a clang, the broken wound sword appeared in his hand. He pointed it at Lung Yidong's throat. Lung Feng stopped. He clenched his fist and stared coldly at Lin Tian. What do you want? Lung Feng said in a deep voice. Lung Yitong was under Lin Tian's feet. Although he was much stronger than Lin Tian, he did not dare to act rashly. He could only deal with Lin Tian after rescuing Lung Yitong. You guys worked together to kill me and force me into the corrosive poison forest. What do you think I want? Lin Tian said coldly. Hearing this, the spectators around the arena sucked in a breath of cold air. At this moment, they could clearly feel the killing intent that Lin Tian was emitting. How dare you? Lung Feng's eyes suddenly became extremely cold. His killing intent was overflowing. Why wouldn't I? Lin Tianling smiled. The broken wound sword was pressed against Lung Yitong's neck. He exerted a little force, and blood immediately flowed out. Lung Yitong was being stepped on by Lin Tian. The bone-piercing coldness on his neck made him tremble violently. He stared at Lin Tian and said sternly, "Stop." Although the imperial courtyard allows disciples to fight each other, it strictly forbids the killing of fellow disciples. If you kill me, you will also die. The imperial courtyard will not let you go. Lin Tian stared at Lung Yitong as he lifted his right leg and stomped down hard. With a cracking sound, the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Lung Yitong immediately cried out in pain. "Who allowed you to speak?" Lin Tianling said coldly. Lin Tian did not hold back at all. He broke a few of Lung Yitong's ribs, causing Lung Yitong to wail in pain. Stepping on the young master of the Lung family, this bro is too arrogant. How ruthless! How arrogant! Many of the onlookers gasped. The Lung family was one of the top 3 martial arts families in the imperial city. They were extremely powerful, and Lung Feng was ranked 7th on the imperial city's ranking list. However, at this moment, there was actually someone who did not care about the Lung family status in the imperial city and directly stepped on his younger brother in front of Lung Feng. This was a resounding slap to the face. Clang! A treasured sword appeared in Lung Feng's hand. The tip of the sword was emitting divine light as a terrifying, murderous aura emanated from it. "Let him go!" Staring at Lin Tian, Lung Feng's voice was terrifyingly cold. Low-grade, bejeweled weapon, Zen mystical sword. It's Lung Feng's personal weapon. I heard that it has killed a level 6 demonic beast before. It's terrifying. Discussions could be heard. The treasured sword in Lung Feng's hand was very powerful. It could increase the combat power of its wielder by 40%. Many people were envious of it. Lin Tian stared at Lung Feng and smiled coldly. He did not care at all. "Get lost!" The broken wound sword pressed against Lung Yitong's neck, causing the blood flow to become thicker. Book reading. Is he really going to kill him? The elders are still here. He can't be so bold. Damn it, this guy is crazy. Many of the onlookers were horrified. Of course, many of them were excited and stared straight ahead. Lung Feng's face darkened as his murderous aura intensified. "Enough, let him go first. You've already taught him a lesson. It's about time." Han He and Lu Lan spoke at this moment. The two of them had already guessed that what Lin Tian said was the truth. However, they could not allow Lin Tian to kill Lung Yitong here. After all, Lung Yitong's identity was not ordinary. Moreover, today was the Northern Flame Imperial Academy's ranking battle. If Lin Tian really killed Lung Yitong here, it would cause a huge commotion. "Did you hear that? Let me go," Lung Yitong said coldly. Lin Tianling glanced at Lung Yitong coldly. He lifted his leg and stomped on Lung Yitong again. Lung Yitong screamed in agony. His voice was extremely desolate. "You're courting death," Lin Tianling said coldly. Lung Feng gripped the treasured sword in his hand tightly and stared at Lin Tian mercilessly. Only a cold, murderous aura was being released. On the other side, Han He and Lu Lan's faces darkened. "Bastard, didn't I tell you to let him go? You're still alive. You've taught him a good lesson," Han He said. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked at Han He. After a while, he shook his head. "Good enough?" Lin Tian smiled faintly. "Just because he didn't succeed in killing me, I should let him go? According to this logic, I can kill whoever I want in Baiyan country. It's great that I killed him, but since he didn't succeed in killing me, he shouldn't have killed me. He should have just taught me a lesson. Elder, is this what you mean?" "You." Hani's face darkened, but he didn't know how to refute. Book reading beside him, Lu Lan said in a low voice, "Even if you kill him, you won't be able to escape the punishment of the imperial courtyard. What awaits you is also death. I advise you not to be too impulsive. Think twice before you act." "Think twice? There's no need for that. There's no need to think about such things," Lin Tian said calmly. In the next moment, there was a faint silver glow in his hand. The broken wound sword became shiny and shiny. He lifted the broken wound sword slightly, and the tip of the sword glowed. "You, stop!" Stop! Didn't you hear what the elders said? If you kill me, you'll die too. Lung Yitong said in a trembling voice. Looking at Lin Tian's eyes, Lung Yitong was scared. His eyes were filled with fear. On the other side, Lung Feng stared at Lin Tian. If you dare to kill him, I guarantee that you won't be able to survive today. Stop! Han He and Lu Lan also shouted. Lin Tianin glanced at these people and smiled. Suddenly, his eyes turned cold, and he lifted the broken wound sword slightly. Puff! Blood splattered. Lung Yitong's neck was cut open. Blood flowed out, and he died on the spot. The entire scene fell silent. At this moment, it was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. He actually killed him. This lunatic! How ruthless! Many of the onlookers muttered to themselves. Bastard! How dare you! Han He and Lu Lan's faces turned cold and gloomy. This was the first time in the history of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard to kill a fellow disciple in the ranking battle. Lung Feng's murderous intent was terrifying. He walked toward Lin Tian step by step. His Chanqi sword was overflowing with murderous intent. Lung Feng, stand down, Han He said in a deep voice. As he spoke, he leaped onto the high platform and walked toward Lin Tian. No matter what reason you have, you shouldn't kill a fellow disciple in the Imperial Courtyard. We warned you, but you didn't listen. It's over. This guy has guts. He's a real man. Unfortunately, he's too impulsive. Sigh. Many of the onlookers shook their heads. On the martial arts stage, Lin Tian looked very calm as he watched Han He walk toward him. Stop, he said calmly. As he spoke, he waved his right hand, and a golden token appeared in his hand. On the golden token, 9 dragons circled around it. It gave off the aura of an emperor. Han He stopped in his tracks, and his expression changed. Dragon mark token? Not only Han He, but Lu Lan was also shocked. He did not expect the person in front of him to have such an item. Many of the onlookers were also shocked. Damn, where did this guy come from? Why does he have such an item? Looks like he's not all brawn and no brains. There were many senior disciples in the Imperial Courtyard. These senior disciples were very knowledgeable and recognized the item that Lin Tian took out. At this moment, the atmosphere changed again. Lin Tian looked indifferent. He looked at Han He and Lu Lan and said, Elders, this should be enough, right? The Dragon Mark token was given to him by the Vice President of the Array Manipulator Guild in the Imperial City. It could exempt anyone from any crime once. After all, the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard was set up by the Northern Flame country and belonged to the Imperial family. In the Imperial Courtyard, the Dragon Mark token was naturally useful. Han He and Lu Lan's expressions darkened. They did not look too good. With a clang, the sound of a sword whistling was heard. It was extremely harsh. Lung Feng held the Chanqi sword and walked toward Lin Tian step by step. He did not hide his murderous intent at all. How could he bear to see his own brother killed? Many of the spectators were shocked as they stared at Lung Feng. Lin Tian stared at Lung Feng and said with a smile, as expected of the young master of the Lung family, "You're ranked 7th on the honor roll list. As the supervisor of the Imperial Courtyard's freshman assessment, you openly ganged up with dozens of family members and your own brother to kill me. Now, you don't even care about the Imperial family's Dragon Mark token and want to kill the holder of the token. Impressive. I think that in a few years, the Lung family will overthrow the current Northern Flame Imperial family and become the ruler of the country." Everyone's expression changed when they heard those words. Those were heart-wrenching words. At this moment, a middle-aged man rushed in from outside the martial arts arena. This middle-aged man was one of the instructors of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. His name was Su Zhou, and he was the one who went to the Nanyang Martial House to recruit disciples a month ago. Su Zhou ran to the side of the martial arts arena anxiously. He glanced at Lin Tian and quickly said something to Lu Lan. Lu Lan's expression changed as he looked at Lin Tian. Lu Lan jumped onto the martial arts arena and whispered a few words in Han He's ear. What? He's at Lin Tian? Han He's expression changed. After Su Zhou returned to the Imperial Courtyard from the Nanyang Martial House, he reported to the elders of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard about Lin Tian. A 16-year-old 9-star talent and a third-stage array manipulation master. He had shocked the elders of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard, and those two words were still fresh in their minds. One had to know that the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard had no lack of geniuses, and it wasn't that they didn't have any 9-star talents. However, if a 9-star talent and a third-stage array manipulation master at the same time, it was a little shocking. At this moment, Han He and Lu Lan's expressions changed again and again as they stared at Lin Tian. It was an exciting scene. I was wondering why Lin Tian didn't appear in the limelight until now. I thought that he would wait until the end to amaze everyone. I didn't expect it to be like this. Lu Lan said. He exchanged a glance with Han He, and both of them smiled bitterly. Chapter 137. Lin Tian had taken out his Imperial Academy nameplate before, but the nameplate was only a proof of identity for a new student for the time being. There was no information about one's identity recorded in the nameplate, so Han He and Lu Lan did not know Lin Tian's true identity. It was only when Su Zhou heard the news and hurried here, informing them of Lin Tian's identity, that the two of them finally reacted. Both of them smiled bitterly. Was this the peerless genius from Fengjian City? This was not easy to deal with. With a kung sound, killing intent interweaved, the cold peak pressing towards Lin Tian. Lung Feng, stop, Han He said. Lung Feng's face darkened. His eyes were as sharp as blades, and the veins on his forehead were throbbing. He killed my younger brother. Lung Yidong was not very talented, and he did not do much. Even so, he was still his younger brother. When his younger brother was killed in front of him, the murderous intent in his eyes surged like a fountain. It was terrifying. He has the Dragon Mark token, Lu Lan said. Lu Lan's words stunned many of the onlookers. Didn't that mean that Lin Tian was innocent? However, many people felt relieved after thinking about it. Lin Tian took out the Dragon Mark medallion, which represented the Imperial clan. He could pardon anyone once, including themselves. Even the elders of the Northern Flame Imperial Academy had to give some face to the Imperial clan. Of course, these people did not know that what shook Han He and Lu Lan the most was Lin Tian himself. A 16-year-old with a 9-star talent and a third-stage array manipulator. How could they kill such a freak? If they killed him, it would be a great loss to them. Lung Feng held onto his treasured sword tightly, but he was stunned. He stared at Lin Tian with a murderous look. He knew about the Dragon Mark token. It was a symbol of the Imperial family's authority. Although he did not know how Lin Tian obtained it, if he killed Lin Tian now, it would cause a lot of controversy. It would embarrass the Imperial family, and it would also bring bad influence to the Lung family. After all, it would be considered as openly disobeying the Imperial family's authority. Seeing that Lung Feng stopped, Han He and Lu Lan nodded. Han He looked at Lin Tian and said, "Since you have the Dragon Mark token, we'll let it go. However, don't do it again." "What about him?" Lin Tian looked coldly at Lung Feng. "What do you mean?" Han He was slightly puzzled. Lin Tiandao said, "As the supervisor of the new student assessment, the senior disciple of the Imperial Courtyard openly joined forces with the masters of his family to enter the Beast Demon Ridge to assassinate the new students of the Imperial Courtyard. What kind of punishment should the Imperial Courtyard give him?" "Didn't you already kill Lung Yitong?" Lu Lan frowned. "Yes, I killed Lung Yitong. Therefore, I used the Dragon Mark token to take the blame." Lung Feng is also one of the sinners. He openly assassinated a fellow disciple. What should he do? Lin Tianling said coldly. Hearing this, many of the onlookers could not help but gasp. This brother is really awesome. Kill Lung Yitong, take out the Dragon Mark token to take the blame, and then ask the Imperial Courtyard to punish Lung Feng. How domineering. Many senior disciples were dumbfounded. Quite a number of new students widened their eyes. There was actually such a crazy person in the same batch of new students. Arrogant bastard. Xiao Wu's face darkened. Not far away, Du Hongxing harumphed coldly as he stared at Lin Tian unhappily. With Lin Tian's arrival, his limelight was immediately overshadowed. Han He and Lu Lan frowned and were at a loss for words. This, logically speaking, if what Lin Tian said was true, the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard should punish Lung Feng. However, Lung Feng was the young master of the Lung family, ranked 7th on the honor roll board, and a rare expert in the Imperial Courtyard. Moreover, Lung Yitong had just been killed. If they were to punish Lung Feng now, it would be difficult for them. On the martial arts stage, Lung Feng stared at Lin Tian with killing intent. Let's have a battle of life and death, one-on-one. Are you satisfied? Lung Feng said coldly. Lin Tian's face was filled with disdain as he said coldly, battle of life and death? Why? We're both students of the Imperial Courtyard. You failed to assassinate me, and now you have the cheek to propose a battle of life and death to settle this matter? Are all the people of the Lung family so shameless? Lung Feng's face turned even colder as killing intent surged. Enough! Han Yi shouted. He looked at Lin Tian and said, how about this? We can't just listen to your words. The Imperial Courtyard will investigate this matter thoroughly before making a decision. Are you trying to stall for time? Lin Tian smiled. You. Han Yi's face turned green with anger. This brat is really a thorn in my side. He doesn't give me any face at all. Just as he was about to say something, Lin Tian shook his head. Forget it. It doesn't matter whether the Imperial Courtyard punishes him or not. Lin Tian, have always liked to solve my own problems. As he spoke, Lin Tianling looked at Lung Feng coldly. I'll let you know the consequences of messing with me. Today, Lung Yitong is lying on the ground. Soon, it will be your turn. Everyone around the martial arts stage was stunned. He's called Lin Tian? This brat. Could he be a prince hiding his identity and coming to the Imperial Courtyard to play? He's too arrogant. Not only did he not kill Lung Yitong, he even threatened Lung Feng in public. It was obvious that he wanted to kill Lung Feng. This was too crazy. The onlookers around the martial arts stage were dumbfounded. They were so shocked that their jaws almost dropped. Lung Feng's face was extremely ugly. A strong sense of humiliation rose within him. He had never been so humiliated in his life. He only felt that Lin Tian had slapped him a few times. At this moment, if Lin Tian had not taken out the Dragon Mark token, he would have rushed over and torn Lin Tian into pieces without caring about anything else. Han Yi and Lu Lan looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Sure enough, this brat was a super thorn in their side. Elders, am I officially admitted into the Imperial Courtyards? Lin Tian asked. At this moment, Lin Tian did not care about Lung Feng at all. If he was stronger, he would have swung his knife at Lung Feng. Unfortunately, he still felt that there was a huge gap between him and Lung Feng. He was definitely not a match for him in a direct confrontation. Yes, why not? Han Yi said with a straight face. How could such a brat be pushed out of the courtyard? Then, what about the ranking battle? There's no need to fight anymore. The ranking battle ends here. You're ranked 3rd among the freshmen. Lu Lan also had a straight face. After he finished speaking, he looked at Su Zhou, who was below the martial arts arena, and said, You'll be in charge of the person you recruited for the time being. Bring him to choose a place to stay and tell him some things about the Imperial Courtyard. Do you understand? Lung Yitong's death was not a small matter. It had to be dealt with properly. Yes, yes, yes. Su Zhou nodded repeatedly. Han Yi looked at Lin Tian and said, All right, go with Su Zhou. Lin Tian nodded and glanced coldly at Lung Feng. He leaped down and came to Su Zhou's side. Thank you, senior, he said. Su Zhou shook his head and quickly left with Lin Tian. There was dead silence around the martial arts arena. Staring at Lin Tian's back, Lung Feng's eyes were full of murderous intent. He clenched his fists tightly and wished he could devour Lin Tian bit by bit. Beside him, Han Yi and Lu Lan looked at Lung Feng's expression and glanced at Lung Yitong's body. They could not help but smile bitterly. It seemed that this matter was not over yet. He's that Lin Tian? He's so handsome, so cool. Some female disciples were infatuated. Many people also stared in the direction Lin Tian left. The scene just now was still replaying in their minds. Killing the young master of the Lung family, taking out the Dragon Mark token, and intimidating Lung Feng. This series of actions was too shocking. At this time, Lin Tian had already walked far away with Su Zhou. Little ancestor, you're really good at causing trouble. You've just entered the imperial courtyard, and you've already caused such a big incident. Su Zhou's face was bitter. The young master of the Lung family, Lung Yitong, was killed by Lin Tian in front of everyone in the freshman ranking battle. This matter was really big. I had no choice. He wanted to kill me, so I could only fight back. Lin Tian shook his head. Su Zhou said, "That's true, but this is the imperial city. As the saying goes, even a strong dragon cannot defeat a snake in its own territory. Moreover, the Lung family's power is astonishing. They can be considered as a fierce dragon in the imperial city. When it's necessary to back down, we should still back down a little. They're already here to kill me. How can I back down? If I back down this time, there will be a next time and a next time. Am I going to let them take the initiative and continue to hunt me down? I'm not going to do such a boring thing." Lin Tian on Dao. Su Zhou was stunned. He smiled bitterly and nodded. "You're right." Shaking his head, Su Zhou said, "Forget it. Mu Qingshi and Shi Dong are not worried about you at all. I guess they must know something. I won't worry about it anymore. Come this way. I'll take you to choose a residence first. Then I'll introduce you to the imperial courtyard." "Okay, I'll have to trouble Senior." "What trouble?" "Recruiting a peerless genius like you. I've gained a lot of benefits." Su Zhou laughed. The Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard was the highest martial palace in the Northern Flame country. There were many buildings inside, covering a large area. Lin Tian followed Su Zhou and soon arrived at the residence of the Imperial Courtyard's disciples. Each house was large and the environment was quiet. "Worthy of the Imperial Courtyard," Lin Tian said with a smile. In this place, any random house was much better than the 9 Yang martial houses' inner palace disciples' residences. Moreover, the distance between the houses was not short. The concealment was done very well, so there was no need to worry about being spied on. Most of the Imperial Courtyard's disciples' residences are here. You can choose one first. Su Zhou said. "Okay." Lin Tian nodded. Looking around, Lin Tian finally chose a house next to a huge old tree. After choosing his residence, Lin Tian invited Su Zhou into the house. He looked at Su Zhou and asked, "Senior, you said that most of the Imperial Courtyard's disciples' residences are here. What does that mean? Are there other residences?" Su Zhou secretly praised Lin Tian's sensitivity. "That's right. The Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard has a long history. From bottom to top, it is roughly divided into the outer courtyard, inner courtyard, and king's courtyard. The residences and conditions of the disciples of each courtyard are different. This is the outer courtyard's residence. The inner courtyard and king's courtyard are in other places. Outer courtyard, inner courtyard, king's courtyard." "I see." Lin Tian nodded. He thought for a while and asked, "Then, Senior Su, how do the new disciples enter the inner courtyard from the outer courtyard, and how do they enter the king's courtyard from the inner courtyard?" Lin Tian had cultivated in the 9 Yang martial palace before. He knew that the higher the level, the more cultivation resources one would receive. Therefore, he naturally had to ask about this. P.S. National Day. I wish you all a good time. Chapter 138. The reason Lin Tian joined the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard was because of the various resources. Reading, therefore, he naturally had to find out more about the problems related to cultivation resources. And this is what I'm going to tell you next. I'll start from the basics, listen carefully. Su Zhou said. "Okay." Lin Tian nodded. Su Zhou nodded and said, "First of all, you new disciples have just entered the academy, and after the ranking battle, the academy will give out some rewards to the top 10 new disciples. After that, all of you will be allowed to temporarily temper yourselves in the academy for a month, allowing you to roughly familiarize yourselves with the Imperial Courtyard." Su Zhou paused, then continued. "Next, the academy will hold a grand competition. The competition will be held in the illusory killing hall of the Imperial Courtyard. Then, the ranking stone outside the illusory killing hall will record the rankings of all the disciples. Generally speaking, the top 30 disciples will be assigned to the king courtyard. The 80th to 31st place will be in the inner courtyard, and those below 81st place will be in the outer courtyard. This is the basic relationship between the three courtyards and the ranking stone. You mean 1 month later, as long as I reach the 80th place in the illusory killing hall, I can enter the inner courtyard, and if I reach the top 30, I can enter the king courtyard? Lin Tian asked. No, it's not that simple. I haven't finished yet. The ranking on the ranking stone is only the basic condition. Su Zhou shook his head, saying, let me give you an example. For example, 1 month later, if your ranking in the illusory killing hall is 81st place, then you will be directly assigned to the outer courtyard, the same as now, an outer courtyard disciple. If you're ranked 79th, then you'll have the qualifications to enter the inner courtyard. After that, you'll have to choose one of the current inner courtyard disciples to challenge. If you win, you'll enter the inner courtyard, and the loser will retreat to the outer courtyard. If you lose, then I'm sorry, but you'll still be in the outer courtyard. Similarly, it's the same for the king courtyard. Lin Tian suddenly understood, saying, so, in the Northern Flame Academy, the king courtyard disciples will always be 30, the inner courtyard disciples will always be 50, and the outer courtyard disciples will always be indefinite. Then, the inner courtyard and king courtyard disciples will be replaced by an elimination system? And that's roughly it. Su Zhou nodded. Lin Tian asked again, after the recent unification competition, will the next competition be held next year? No, the All-Academy competition is held once every 2 months. Once every 2 months? So often? Lin Tian was a little surprised. Naturally, this is also to encourage the disciples to work hard in their cultivation. Su Zhou continued, however, although the grand competition is held frequently, the positions on the ranking stone generally do not change much. It is even more impossible for the disciples of the Inner Academy and King's Academy to be pushed down so easily. After all, those who are able to enter the Inner Academy and King's Academy are all geniuses amongst geniuses. Oh, that's true. Lin Tian nodded. Next, Su Zhou explained the main structure of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. It was divided into the Disciple Pavilion, the Elder Courtyard, the Scripture Depository, and the Cultivation Area. The Disciple Pavilion, the Elder Courtyard, and the Scripture Depository were all a single structure, while the Cultivation Area consisted of many different structures, such as the Wild Sand World, the Rapid Current, the Mirage Cave, and the Vein Condensation Cave. The Wild Sand World was a small space that was filled with yellow sand. Within this space, those with weak strength wouldn't even be able to open their eyes. But at the same time, this small space also contained an illusionary killing array. From time to time, some powerful monster beasts would appear and attack the disciples that entered, using this to temper the perception of a martial artist. The Rapid Current was a huge river that cut across the Mirage Cave. The water current was shockingly fast, and if one wasn't careful, they would be swept away. Moreover, this long river was reinforced by some kind of array that made the water current extremely cold, so cold that it penetrated the bones. Ordinary people would find it hard to endure, using this to train the cultivators' physical strength and endurance. The Mirage Cave was a place where cultivators would enter, and there would be a phantom with the same strength as them. Other than the ability to speak and facial expressions, their cultivation, speed, and martial skills would be the same as the real body. After cultivators entered the Mirage Cave, they would battle with their own phantoms, allowing them to grasp their own weaknesses and shortcomings. At the same time, they could also increase their own battle strength. It could be said that this was very significant. The Vein Condensation Cave was said to have more than 10 tyrannical spirit veins gathered underground. The spirit energy was extremely dense, and after cultivators entered, they could absorb spirit energy that far surpassed the outside world, greatly increasing the speed of forming divine veins. Their cultivation could increase by a lot in a short period of time. The significance of this was self-evident. Of these 4 places, the Slaughter World and the Rapid Current could accommodate at least 100 people at a time, so there was no restriction on the cultivation time. Freshmen who had just entered the college could cultivate there unconditionally. However, The Mirage Cave and the Vein Condensation Cave were different. Only Inner Courtyard disciples and King's Courtyard disciples had the qualifications to enter these two places. Moreover, the disciples would be allocated time according to their ranking on the ranking stone. The higher the ranking, the more cultivation time they would receive. Also, the Imperial Courtyard Scripture Depository is a little different from your Nanyang Martial House. The Imperial Courtyard disciples can only choose one cultivation technique and one martial skill from the Scripture Depository for each realm. Of course, the cultivation techniques and martial skills inside are all top-notch. Su Zhou said, "Forget about the cultivation technique, but can only choose one martial skill for each realm? Isn't that a little too little?" Lin Tian was astonished. "Maybe, but it's not true that you can only cultivate one martial skill for each realm." Su Zhou smiled and said, "If you want to cultivate more martial skills, you can exchange for new martial skills by accumulating Academy contribution points. When the Academy contribution points reach level 1, you can exchange for one additional Divine Vein Realm martial skill. When the Academy contribution points reach level 2, you can exchange for 2 additional Divine Vein Realm martial skills. As for Spiritual Sea Realm martial skills, you need to reach level 3 at least." Lin Tianwei was stunned and asked, "How do I accumulate Academy contribution points?" "This is simple. Go to the Disciple Pavilion and hand in Demonic Beast Cores, Demonic Beast Fur, Demonic Beast Blood Essence, rare herbs, spirit tools, elixirs, and so on. You can even directly exchange spirit coins for Academy contribution points." Su Zhou said, "Spirit coins are fine too?" "Sure." Lin Tian thought for a moment and asked, "How many spirit coins do I need to reach level 1 contribution points?" In terms of spirit coins, he still had a lot. Level 1 contribution points require 3 million spirit coins. Level 2 contribution points require 7 million spirit coins. Level 3. Stop. Lin Tian's forehead was full of black lines. He might as well rob. Su Zhou obviously knew what Lin Tian was thinking and said with a smile, "A few million spirit coins is indeed an astronomical figure for ordinary cultivators. However, for some wealthy merchant families in the Imperial City, a few million spirit coins are nothing at all. It can be said that spirit coins are prepared for those wealthy young masters of wealthy merchant families. The Imperial Courtyard also needs to make some money." Lin Tian. It was the first time he heard that the Imperial Courtyard also needed to make money. "Then, how do you calculate using beast cores?" Lin Tian asked. Su Zhou said, "In terms of beast cores, level 4 demonic beast cores need about 3,000 pieces to reach level 1 contribution points. Level 5 demonic beast cores need about 1,500 pieces. Level 6 demonic beast cores need about 1,000 pieces." Lin Tian was speechless. Beast cores also needed so many. There's no other way. The Imperial Courtyard has too many great formations. It needs a lot of beast cores to operate. Su Zhou said, "So, the Imperial Courtyard uses extra martial arts as a lure to make the Imperial Courtyard's disciples do their best to obtain beast cores. Since the martial arts are there, there's nothing to lose by letting the Imperial Courtyard's disciples practice it. They can also get a lot of beast cores, so why not? If there's a wealthy young master, that's even better. It's a waste not to take advantage of them. Is that right?" Lin Tian on Dao. Cough, cough. "It's good that you know, it's good that you know. We can't let the teachers and elders get beast cores and spirit coins, right?" Su Zhou said. Maybe it was because he had a good impression of Lin Tian. Su Zhou didn't deliberately hide anything. Lin Tian. This is too deceptive. He chatted with Su Zhou for a while and had a general understanding of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. Around nighttime, Su Zhou stood up and said goodbye. "Sorry to trouble you, senior. Take care." Lin Tian sent Su Zhou to the door. "Little guy, don't be so polite. If there's anything you don't understand in the future, you can ask me," Su Zhou said, and then quickly left. Lin Tian returned to his room and tidied it up. He then lay on the bed and prepared to have a good sleep. In the past half a month, the environment in the poison forest was a little too harsh. He didn't have a good rest at all. Around midnight, Lin Tian woke up. After pausing for a while, he opened the 2 spirit gathering runes and started to cultivate. To him, who controlled the four extreme scriptures, the effect of cultivating at night was much better than in the day. It was because the four extreme scriptures could not only attract the spirit chi of heaven and earth, but also the astral force. Buzz. Dense spirit chi of heaven and earth gathered outside his body. The silver astral force also intertwined, making him look sacred and dignified. Under such dense spirit chi of heaven and earth and astral force, he constructed the fourth divine vein bit by bit, connecting the acupoints and meridians on the fourth divine vein. Just like that, the night passed quickly. The next morning, Lin Tian stopped cultivating. He stood up and stretched his arms. He felt that his essence, chi, and spirit had become stronger. When he walked out of the room, the surroundings were very quiet. Many outer courtyard disciples were still sleeping soundly. Lin Tian, as usual, faced the morning sun and breathed. He continued for half an hour before stopping. At noon, Su Zhou came again. He brought the reward of the ranking battle from the imperial courtyard. It was a meridian shield elixir. It could allow divine vein experts to construct their divine veins faster. It was needless to say how valuable it was. That night, Lin Tian swallowed the elixir without hesitation. After a night of cultivation, his cultivation directly reached the fourth sky of the divine vein realm. The reason why he was able to break through so quickly was because he had refined a Class 7 demonic beast core in the corrosive poison forest. After that, he had cultivated bitterly for half a month. Originally, his cultivation was about to reach the fourth layer of the divine vein layer. Now, after consuming the channel shielding pill, breaking through to a new level was naturally a matter of course. Humph. Feeling the power of the fourth sky of the divine vein realm, Lin Tian couldn't help but sneer. Now, he wasn't far from Lung Feng's cultivation level. For the next 2 days, Lin Tian didn't step out of his room. He had been consolidating his cultivation level. After all, he had broken through too quickly during this period of time. He had to stabilize his foundation. Soon, another day passed. In the afternoon, Lin Tian walked out of his room and prepared to go to the Imperial Courtyard's cultivation area to take a look. Just as he opened the door, a yellow-clothed youth jumped out from the side and shouted, "Brother-in-law!" Chapter 139. Lin Tian was about to kick him, but when he heard the young man's name, he staggered. "Brother-in-law? What the hell?" The young man looked very young, his skin was very white, and he looked to be about 16 years old. He rushed forward with a familiar face and directly gave Lin Tian a warm hug, happily saying, "Brother-in-law, I've finally found you." Lin Tian felt a chill down his spine and quickly pushed the young man away. "Who are you?" Lin Tian asked. Someone suddenly called him brother-in-law. How could he be kidding? Most importantly, he didn't know this person at all. The young man straightened his clothes and said, "My name is Xin Chengyun. I just turned 16 last month. I'm now a member of Beiyin Imperial Courtyard." Xin Chengyun approached Lin Tian and said excitedly, "By the way, brother-in-law, I heard that you killed the young master of the Lung family in front of everyone. That was so domineering. My sister said that you should protect me in the future." Staring at the young man, Lin Tian was slightly stunned. "Your sister? Xian Yao?" He thought about it. Among the people he knew, only Xian Yao had the surname Xian. Xin Chengyun nodded repeatedly. "Yes, that's right." Lin Tian was speechless. "I'm very close to your sister, but how did I become your brother-in-law?" "My sister's tone was strange when she mentioned you. We're siblings. I know my sister. You must be my brother-in-law. Even if you're not now, you'll definitely be in the future." Xin Chengyun said seriously. "Yes, that's right." Lin Tian. This guy's imagination was really wild. After a pause, Lin Tian thought about what Xin Chengyun said and asked curiously, "You're now a disciple of the Imperial Courtyards?" Lin Tian glanced at Xin Chengyun and found that he was only at the 7th level of the physique refinement realm. Although his cultivation was not bad, how could a 7th level of the physique refinement realm enter the Imperial Courtyard to cultivate? "Yes." Xi and Xingyun had a proud expression. Does the Imperial Courtyard also accept disciples below the Divine Pulse Realm? No. Then you? My family is rich. Lin Tian. He suddenly recalled what Su Zhou had told him about exchanging spirit coins for Academy contribution points. Now it seemed that it wasn't just Academy contribution points. As long as one had enough wealth, they could directly smash open the doors of the Imperial Courtyard with spirit coins. Rubbing his forehead, Lin Tian walked outside. Hey, brother-in-law, wait for me. Xi and Qingyun followed him eagerly. Lin Tian was speechless. Don't call me brother-in-law. Yes, brother-in-law. Lin Tian couldn't be bothered to say anything else. He walked in a certain direction and headed towards the cultivation area of the Northern Flame Imperial Academy. After staying in his residence for a few days, his cultivation had reached the 4th layer of the Divine Vein Realm. He wanted to experience the violent sand world and the rapids torrent. Brother-in-law, how do you know my elder sister? Brother-in-law, what realm are you at now? Brother-in-law, can I treat you to dinner tonight? Hey, brother-in-law, say something. Along the way, Xi and Qingyun didn't rest. Lin Tian felt his ears buzzing. He secretly thought that Xi and Yao's younger brother was really a chatterbox. The Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard was extremely huge, and the outer courtyard disciples' residences were quite a distance away from the cultivation area. Along the way, many Imperial Courtyard disciples were shocked when they saw Heavenly Queen Lin. They were all pointing at her and whispering to each other. A few days ago, Lin Tian killed the young master of the Lung family in front of everyone. Many Imperial Courtyard disciples were shocked. Xi and Qingyun looked around, and his eyes lit up. He said excitedly, brother-in-law, these guys seem to be in awe of you. You are so handsome. Let's make a deal. You have to protect me in the future. Lin Tian. Not long later, Lin Tian arrived at the cultivation area. The cultivation area of the Northern Flame Imperial Academy was very big. There were many Imperial Courtyard disciples coming and going. Lin Tian stopped for a while and then walked toward the Wild Sand World. The Wild Sand World was the basic cultivation resource of the Imperial Courtyard. There were no restrictions. When Lin Tian arrived, he didn't hesitate and directly walked in. However, after taking a few steps, he stopped. Are you okay? He asked Xi and Qingyun. The Wild Sand World was designed for Divine Vein Realm experts. However, Xi and Qingyun was only in the body refinement realm. Moreover, he was only at the 7th layer of the body refinement realm. Lin Tian thought that Xi and Qingyun might not be able to withstand the pressure inside. Brother-in-law, aren't you here? Xi and Qingyun said. Lin Tian was speechless. After we go in, stay by my side. Xi and Yao was very good to him. Since this guy was Xi and Yao's younger brother, he naturally had to take care of him. Okay, brother-in-law. Xi and Qingyun nodded. Lin Tian didn't say anything else. He took Xi and Qingyun and stepped into the Wild Sand World. As soon as they stepped into the Wild Sand World, violent astral winds rushed toward them. The wind carried golden yellow sand, and it actually hurt when it hit their faces. The wind continued to howl in his ears. Even with Lin Tian's cultivation, he was still surprised when he first entered this place. Looking around, he could only see up to 2 zhang in front of him. He could not see anything beyond that. Ouch! Xi and Qingyun howled. A faint voice entered Lin Tian's ears through the wind. Lin Tian tilted his head and saw Xi and Qingyun covering his face with one hand and grabbing the corner of his clothes with the other. Xi and Qingyun's body kept shaking as if he was going to be flipped over in the next moment. Lin Tian immediately released his true origin force and formed a true origin wall. It supported a small area with a diameter of about 10 feet. Only then did Xi and Qingyun feel better. How terrifying! Xi and Qingyun swallowed his saliva. At this moment, a ferocious roar sounded. A white-boned demonic beast suddenly appeared beside Xi and Qingyun. Xi and Qingyun's expression changed. His eyes almost popped out. Clang! A sword whistled. The broken wound sword appeared in Lin Tian's hand, and he slashed at the demonic beast. The white-boned demonic beast was cut in half and disappeared like starlight. Lin Tian wasn't surprised. He knew from Su Zhou that the demonic beasts in this wild sand world were evolved from the illusory killing array. They didn't have the real killing power. When the disciples of the college were killed by the demonic beasts in the wild sand world, they would be thrown out by the array. So powerful. Xi and Qingyun's face was full of admiration. Don't just stand there. I will support this small area. You will be less affected by the wild sand. Now, rely on your own cultivation and martial arts to sense the surroundings and fight with the demonic beasts. Don't worry. No matter what, these demonic beasts can't kill you. You can treat them as illusions and fight with them to improve yourself. Lin Tian said. Since he was here, he couldn't waste his time. He wanted to help this guy. After all, he was Xian Yao's brother. Okay, brother-in-law. Xian Qingyun nodded. Taking a deep breath, Xian Qingyun became serious and immediately got into a fighting stance. In the next moment, in the wild sand, the sound of air breaking was heard. Demonic beasts rushed over one after another. Clang! The sword whistled. Lin Tian waved the broken wound sword and killed many demonic beasts in the air. Do it! He yelled at Xian Qingyun. These demonic beasts weren't too strong. There were some second-level and third-level demonic beasts. He stopped the stronger ones and left the weaker ones for Xian Qingyun. He believed that with Xian Qingyun's current strength, it shouldn't be a problem to deal with some second-level and third-level demonic beasts. Xian Qingyun was a little scared at first, but after hearing Lin Tian's voice, he gritted his teeth and started to fight. Boom! Pulling out a long sword, Xian Qingyun slashed out streaks of crazy sword light. Lin Tian was a little surprised. Although Xian Qingyun was only at the 7th level of body refinement, the martial arts he used seemed to belong to the divine vein level. The power was extraordinary. However, he was only surprised for a moment. The Xian family could even break open the imperial courtyard's door with money. It shouldn't be too difficult for them to get some divine vein-level martial arts. Not bad, continue. He encouraged. Yes, brother-in-law, Xian Qingyun said excitedly. The wild sand world was very unusual. The wind was very strong, and demonic beasts were constantly rushing over. It was impossible to guard against them. Lin Tian forcibly supported a small area with his huge vital essence to help Xian Qingyun block the wind and sand. His vital essence was also very consumed. After about 2 hours, he asked Xian Qingyun to leave. Walking out of the wild sand world, Xian Qingyun let out a long breath. It's so comfortable outside. The path of cultivation is originally not comfortable. Lin Tian Dao. I know. Xian Qingyun nodded and stared at Lin Tian with some excitement and adoration. He said, but brother-in-law, you are so powerful. You can actually use your Jin Yuan to forcefully separate the sand and wind, and at the same time guide me in battle. I feel that my battle ability seems to have improved a lot, and my sword skills are also much more proficient. Although he only stayed in the wild sand world for 2 hours, Xian Qingyun felt that his strength had improved a lot. If there's a chance in the future, I'll bring you here again, Lin Tian said with a smile. Staying in the wild sand world for 2 hours didn't help him much. It was designed to enhance a warrior's perception. However, he cultivated the Heavenly One Soul spell, and his perception was already very strong. He could easily sense the demonic beasts rushing over from the wild sand world. As for the wind and sand, it wasn't too strong. With his current strength, he could easily resist it. After all, the wind and sand were originally only for interference. Okay. Hearing Lin Tian say that he'll come again in the future, Xian Qingyun nodded excitedly. Then, Xian Qingyun looked at Lin Tian and said, by the way, brother-in-law, where are we going now? Why don't I bring you to the Immortal Knowledge Water Tower? No, I have to bring my mount here. Lin Tian Dao. Now that he had settled down in the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard, it was time to bring the Dragon Scale Horse over. Even though he didn't need a mount right now, Su Shu had spent a few days taming this precious steed as a gift for him. Furthermore, the steed itself was quite intelligent. Naturally, he wouldn't leave it outside. Mount? Okay, let's go together, Xian Qingyun said. Lin Tian was speechless. Did this guy really think of him as his brother-in-law? Why did it feel like he was sticking to him? Shaking his head, Lin Tian didn't care. He immediately walked out of the imperial courtyard. Lin Tian. At this moment, a sinister voice sounded. Chapter 140. Remember the literature building in a second. We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Lin Tian looked in the direction of the voice and saw a young man in purple walking towards him. It was Xiao Wu. Wu Sheng. What's the matter? He said indifferently. Xiao Wu's face darkened as he sneered. I didn't expect you to be a new student of the imperial courtyard. Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. You stopped me just to say this nonsense? As he spoke, he shook his head and beckoned X and Qingyan to walk out. Stop! Xiao Wu shouted coldly. This place was close to the cultivation area, and there were many disciples coming and going. When they saw this scene, they all looked over. Lin Tian and Xiao Wu were both famous among the new students. Lin Tian didn't want to talk to Xiao Wu, but Xi and Qingyan was a little unhappy. Who are you to speak so rudely? As he spoke, he looked at Lin Tian and said, Brother-in-law, is this someone you know? I guess so. When I first came to the imperial city, we had some small dealings. Lin Tiantan smiled. Small dealings? Why do I feel like he hates you? Xi and Qingyan was slightly stunned. If I didn't know your sister and kicked you out of the restaurant, you would hate me too. Lin Tiandao. X and Qingyan stared and then gave him a thumbs up. Brother-in-law, you're so domineering. The two of them spoke to each other, completely ignoring the surroundings. This caused Xiao Wu's face to flicker between green and red. In particular, when Lin Tian mentioned what had happened in the restaurant that day, he immediately felt rather embarrassed. At this moment, quite a few students in the surroundings looked at him in surprise. There's actually such a thing, as expected of the ruthless person who dared to kill Long Yitong. I didn't expect him to kick the young master of Linchuan City Xiao family when he just came to the imperial city. Really awesome. Around them, many people were discussing. Xiao Wu only felt like his face was on fire. With a clang, he pulled out his sword and pointed it at Lin Tian. That day, if you didn't sneak attack me while I was fast, how could I be controlled by you? In terms of combat strength, you're far inferior to me. And then, Lin Tiantan looked at Xiao Wu indifferently. Xiao Wu's face turned cold as he said coldly, Do you dare to fight to the death? That day, he was kicked out of the restaurant by Lin Tian in front of so many people. This made Xiao Wu really hate Lin Tian. He believed that his battle strength was stronger than Lin Tian, so he wanted to wash away his humiliation. Whoosh! When they heard the words battle of life and death, the surrounding imperial courtyard disciples were in an uproar. It was a life and death battle. Moreover, it was a life and death battle between two powerful new students. Many people's eyes lit up with anticipation. Boring. Lin Tian shook his head. As he spoke, he called out to Xi and Qingyan and walked out of the academy. You don't dare? Xiao Wu sneered and pointed his sword at Lin Tian. You're not worthy, Lin Tiantan said calmly. After he finished speaking, he didn't care about the expressions of the people around him. He walked straight out of the academy, leaving Xiao Wu standing there with an ashen face. He gripped the sword in his hand so tightly that his knuckles turned white. His eyes were filled with malice. Lin Tian and Xi and Qingyan walked out of the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard together. Brother-in-law, why did you kick that guy when you first came to the Imperial City? Xi and Qingyan asked Lin Tian. He wanted to snatch the room that I had already booked. Lin Tian said. Xi and Qingyan glared. A room is like a woman. That bastard actually dared to snatch brother-in-law's room? He's courting death. Lin Tian. Where did this guy get this weird theory from? The Imperial City was very luxurious. People came and went. Xi and Qingyan pointed at this, and that for a while. He dragged Lin Tian and said that he wanted to take Lin Tian to the immortal Wisdom Water Tower to welcome him. However, he was rejected. Brother-in-law, why aren't we at your restaurant yet? How much longer do we have to walk? 2 hours later, Xi and Qingyan complained. He felt that his legs were a little sore. I didn't ask you to follow me. Lin Tian was speechless. He then said, All right, Don't call me brother-in-law anymore. Okay, brother-in-law? Xian Qingyun nodded. Black lines appeared on Lin Tian's forehead. He really wanted to give this guy a slap. Not long later, Lin Tian finally arrived at the restaurant from before. When he arrived at the backyard of the restaurant, the dragon scale stallion suddenly neighed and shook its head. It seemed to be a little excited. Heh! Lin Tian walked over and touched the dragon scale stallion's head. This guy really understood human nature. He looked at the dragon scale stallion. It seemed to have strengthened a lot in the past few days. This made him very satisfied. Peak rank 3 demonic beast? Brother-in-law, you're so domineering. Using this thing as a mount. Xian Qingyun's eyes lit up. A good friend gave it to me as a gift. Lin Tian smiled. After paying some spirit coins to the restaurant's waiter, Lin Tian led the dragon scale stallion out. Walking on the street, many passers-by couldn't help but stare at the dragon scale stallion and point at it. One had to know that the dragon scale stallion was a peak rank 3 demonic beast. It was comparable to a 9th layer body refinement realm cultivator. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to tame it. To be able to use the dragon scale stallion as a mount, it was enough to show that the owner was very strong. Brother-in-law, let me ride it? Xian Qingyun's eyes lit up. Sure, Lin Tian. No matter what, he was still Xian Yao's younger brother. He wouldn't be stingy. Book read, Xian Qingyun was overjoyed. He quickly ran to the side of the dragon scale stallion and jumped on it. However, just as he stepped on the dragon scale stallion's back, the dragon scale stallion suddenly neighed angrily and threw him off. With a bang, Xian Qingyun fell to the ground. He grimaced in pain. Brother-in-law, Xian Qingyun pointed at the dragon scale stallion, trembling in anger. Lin Tian looked at the dragon scale stallion and suddenly laughed. It seems that only he was allowed to ride the dragon scale stallion. Good fellow. Stroking the dragon scale stallion's soft mane, he liked this guy even more. Xian Qingyun stared at the dragon scale stallion. After a while, he could only helplessly shake his head. The two of them walked towards the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard. Along the way, Xian Qingyun was still chatty. By the way, brother-in-law, the Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard will be very lively this time because there are more geniuses than previous years. Moreover, it is said that a certain prince will be coming to the Imperial Courtyard to cultivate soon. Xian Qingyun said. Lin Tian Wei was stunned. A prince is coming to the Imperial Courtyard to cultivate? As far as he knew, there were many experts in the Imperial Palace. There were experts who were responsible for teaching the princes. Under normal circumstances, there is no need. However, who knows what a prince is interested in? Maybe he feels that cultivating alone in the Imperial Palace is too boring and wants to have some fun in the outside world. Xian Qingyun said. Lin Tian nodded and didn't pay too much attention to it. Soon, the two of them returned to the Imperial Courtyard. There were many geniuses in the Imperial Courtyard. Naturally, Lin Tianyi wasn't the only one who had a mount. Therefore, there was a special stable. Lin Tian brought the dragon scale horse to the Imperial Courtyard stable. After tying up the reins, he patted the horse and left. In the corrosive poison forest, he had already mastered 60% of the Azure Thundersword skill. Now he was preparing to head to the Imperial Courtyard Scripture Depository to choose a new divine vein realm martial technique to cultivate. After all, it was never a bad thing to learn more martial techniques. Do you want to come along? Lin Tian asked Xian Qingyun. If brother-in-law is going, I will go. Xian Qingyun nodded. Lin Tian was speechless. It seemed like this guy was really going to stick to him. The Northern Flame Imperial Courtyard was huge, but Lin Tian was more or less familiar with it. Soon, they arrived in front of a very tall building. It was the Scripture Depository. As far as the eye could see, the Scripture Depository was divided into 4 floors. It emitted a majestic aura. When they arrived at the Scripture Depository, Lin Tian and Xian Qingyun passed their Imperial Courtyard nameplates to the Scripture Depository's deacon. The deacon glanced at them and said indifferently, "Go to the 2nd floor. You can choose any cultivation technique or martial technique." Time limit, 2 hours. After the ranking battle, All the disciples' nameplates had been refreshed. Now, different nameplates represented different individuals. The deacon of the Hidden Scriptures Pavilion only needed to scan the nameplates with his Zhen Yuan to find out who had received the martial skills. Lin Tian took back his Imperial Courtyard nameplate and headed to the second floor. "Brother-in-law, wait for me," Xi and Qingyun called out from behind. The two of them went to the second floor and saw that it was filled with all kinds of cultivation techniques and martial techniques. Pure Yang art, sky water art, floating frost scripture. Lin Tian casually flipped through a few cultivation techniques and found that they were exquisite. They were all at the upper divine pulse level. The divine pulse level cultivation techniques in the Nine Suns martial house could not be compared to them. Of course, the cultivation techniques here were far inferior to the four extreme scripture that he cultivated. Bypassing the cultivation techniques, Lin Tian's gaze landed on the martial techniques. Nine claws, green flame sword, Luo Ri fist. Lin Tianyi glanced at them and couldn't help but shake his head. He had mastered the Azure Thunder sword art. This sword art was very strong. 60% of the sword outline was already comparable to a divine pulse level martial technique. Therefore, he didn't need any sword-type martial techniques for the time being. Now that he had come here, he wanted to choose a martial skill that was similar to the Sword of Lightning, which had an instant burst of power. After all, the Sword of Lightning was only one of the mid-level martial skills in body refinement. In his current realm, it was slightly weak, so he wanted to find a stronger martial skill to replace it. Boomerang Saber, Cloud Collapse, Raging Flame Arrow. Lin Tian kept shaking his head as he scanned through the list. Suddenly, his gaze landed on a martial technique manual. It was called Nirvana Fist. Nirvana Fist, a upper divine pulse level martial technique. There is only one move, which is to gather true origin at the tip of the fist and compress it to the maximum. Then, it will materialize into a fist aura. It can be used to kill enemies from a distance. This martial technique consumes a lot of true origin and is very difficult to cultivate. Moreover, the cultivator needs to have a very strong physical body. Otherwise, the body will not be able to withstand the compressed fist aura. Lin Tian's eyes lit up when he read it. It seemed that this Nirvana Fist was not bad. After taking a deep breath, Lin Tian thought about it and chose it. "Have you chosen?" After choosing the Nirvana Fist, Lin Tian asked Xi and Qingyun. "Yes," Xi and Qingyun replied. Lin Tian scanned through the list and found that Xi and Qingyun had chosen the Pure Yang art and the 100 Phantom Shadows. Not bad. The Pure Yang art can make true origin purer and more condensed. The 100 Phantom Shadows can increase your speed and reflexes. Together with the Divine Pulse level sword technique that you have cultivated, it should be good, Lin Tian said. Xi and Qingyun was proud of himself. "Brother-in-law, you think I have good taste too?" Lin Tian rolled his eyes. This fellow was really like opening a dye house when given a little bit of color. After the deacon of the Scripture Pavilion recorded it, the two of them walked out. "Brother-in-law, where are we going now?" Xi and Qingyun asked. "Nonsense, of course we were going to cultivate." That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.